The moment Wyatt and Khloe confirmed they were on a date, both of their mothers tactfully hung up. After wandering around a bit more, they were about to head back to the hotel when Khloe's phone buzzed insistently. "Who's that?" Wyatt asked curiously. Khloe pulled out her phone, glanced at the screen, and said, "It's Elaine. You should get that." Wyatt took the bag from Khloe's hands, then took her hand again as they crossed the street. The call connected. "Khloe, what are you up to?" Elaine's voice was warm. "Elaine," Khloe said honestly, "Wyatt and I are still out. Tomorrow's Christmas. Why don't you and Wyatt come over to my place for dinner?" Khloe hesitated, unsure how to answer. "Here, I'll let Wyatt talk to you," she said quickly, handing the phone to him. "Hello, Elaine. Wyatt, bring Khloe over for dinner tomorrow morning." "Sounds great," Wyatt said with a smile. "When did you get back to the city?" After the fall break, Elaine had been traveling nonstop. Wyatt had her on social media and saw her post from all over the world every few days. "I got back at the beginning of the month," she said. "I won't keep you two from your date. Just come over early tomorrow. There's something I want to talk to you about." "Will do." "Okay, that's all for now. Bye." After hanging up, Elaine couldn't help but smile wryly. She hadn't realized Khloe had become so reliant on Wyatt that she'd even hand him the phone for a call meant for her. She let out a soft sigh, her gaze falling to a message on her phone from her doctor. After a long moment of consideration, she finally typed a reply. "Okay, let's schedule the procedure for the 5th of next month." Back at the hotel, they both sat on the sofa, scrolling through their phones for a while. At 7:30, Khloe stood up, grabbed a pair of pajamas, and disappeared into the bathroom. She'd washed her hair the day before, so she was out in about 10 minutes. She saw Wyatt still sitting there, messaging someone, so she pulled back the covers and slipped into bed. She didn't bother with her phone. While she was on the sofa, she felt a familiar ache in her stomach. Sure enough, a trip to the bathroom confirmed that her period had started. The first day was always a little uncomfortable, but today, maybe from being out in the cold wind, the dull pain in her lower abdomen was more pronounced. Wyatt sent a few more messages in the sea. Investments group me, dropping a couple of Venmo payments as virtual bonuses, then looked up. Noticing Khloe was already in bed, and sensing something was off, he walked over and sat on the edge, placing his hand on her cheek. "What's wrong? You've been quiet this whole time. Are you not feeling well?" Khloe pouted, her voice soft and weak. "My stomach hurts, but all we had was that roasted sweet potato. How could that give you a stomachache? It's not something I ate. It's... Wyatt understood immediately. "That time of the month." Khloe nodded. Wyatt quickly rubbed his hands together to warm them, then slid one hand under the covers, placing it gently on Khloe's flat stomach and beginning to knead in slow, soft circles. "Does that feel any better?" "MMHMM. Has it hurt like this before? Just on the first day? It gets better after that." Wyatt nodded. "The electric kettle in these hotels is probably filthy. You want me to go down to the front desk and get you some hot water? I have a thermos in my bag. There's still hot water in it. Want some?" Khloe nodded again, looking pitiful. Wyatt found a small thermos in her bag. A normal one held about 16 ounces, but this one couldn't have held more than 10. Still, it was well insulated. When he twisted the cap off, steam billowed out. "Here, sit up and drink some." Khloe sat up, and Wyatt propped a pillow against the headboard for her to lean against. "Blow on it first, it might still be hot." Perhaps Wyatt's gentle massage had actually worked because after taking the thermos, Khloe said shyly, You can put your hand back." "Okay." Wyatt slid his hand back under the covers. After a few sips of hot water, color returned to Khloe's cheeks. Though her stomach still ached, her attention was no longer on the pain. She stared at Wyatt, and he stared back. Neither of them spoke, their eyes locking in a charged, tender gaze. Wyatt used his other hand to gently flick her nose. "I'm going to take a quick shower," he said with a smile. "Give me a few minutes. I'll be right out." "Okay." Wyatt stood up, tossed his jacket on the sofa, leaned down to kiss her forehead, and then vanished into the bathroom. He was out in just a few minutes. He lay down on the other side of the bed and had just turned off the lights when Khloe immediately snuggled into his arms. They held each other tightly, their noses touching, the rest of the world melting away until it was just the two of them. This Christmas Eve was, on the whole, rather quiet. But that was life. For Khloe, all the grand passions and sweeping promises in the world couldn't compare to the simple, profound comfort of Wyatt's warm hand on her stomach in that very moment. When Elaine used to celebrate Christmas abroad, she was always surrounded by friends. But after quitting her job and returning to the country, she had gradually lost touch with them. Not wanting to spend the holiday alone, she had called Khloe. She was up early, first making a trip to the supermarket for ingredients, then giving her apartment a thorough cleaning. It was nearly 10 o'clock when the doorbell finally rang. Elaine quickly wiped her hands and hurried from the kitchen to open the door. "Elaine, Merry Christmas. I told you two to come early. What took you so long?" Come in, come in. Wyatt laughed. I was going to stop by the store on the way to pick something up, but Khloe said coming to your place is like coming home, so we came empty-handed. I hope you don't think we're rude. As soon as he said it, Khloe thought, when did I ever say that? Elaine beamed. Khloe's right. Just make yourselves at home. I was just in the kitchen washing vegetables. We're eating in today. And just so you know, no complaining if my cooking isn't great. Never. There are snacks and fruit on the table. Have a seat while I finish up in the kitchen, otherwise I'll be swamped at noon. Elaine, Wyatt offered, I know how to cook. Want me to whip something up? Sure. Cooking was not Elaine's forte. Before she quit her job, the number of times she'd cooked at home could be counted on one hand. So, for lunch, Wyatt ended up making most of the dishes while Elaine acted as his sous chef, handing him spices. Khloe, bored in the living room, eventually wandered into the kitchen to watch. Elaine recounted her travels over the past few months, even debunking a few overhyped, so-called hidden gems she'd visited that turned out to be terrible. Once the food was ready, the three of them sat down at the table. Elaine eagerly tried Wyatt's cooking and gave it high praise. After they were mostly finished with the meal, Wyatt took the initiative. Elaine, you said on the phone yesterday you had something to talk to me about. What is it? Elaine had planned to bring it up after they ate, but since Wyatt had asked, she just smiled. Hold on a second. She stood up, went to her room, and returned with a tablet, which she handed to Wyatt. Curious, Wyatt took it. Khloe leaned in, her head tilted. The screen displayed a design sketch, a professionally polished one. The moment he saw it, Wyatt understood. He swallowed and swiped down, revealing several more sketches. Each one was unique, with a bold, distinct personality. Even Khloe was captivated, her eyes glued to the screen. Elaine explained with a smile, I drew these while I was traveling. I guess inspiration strikes when you're relaxed. I'm quite happy with how they turned out. I've organized them into 4 series, called the Elements Collection: Cascade, Azure, Mist, and Abyss. They correspond to mountains, water, lakes, and the sea. The first one you saw, I drew that on Mount Lu, inspired by a waterfall there, so the hem of the skirt. Not caring whether Wyatt understood the technical details, Elaine patiently explained the highlights of each design. Wyatt listened without interrupting. Only after she finished did he ask, his voice full of anticipation. So, you're showing me these because you want to take Vivien's brand high-end, didn't you? What do you think of these designs? They're good. They're incredible, Wyatt said excitedly. Elaine, if you could join our company, I think. Before he could finish, Elaine shook her head, cutting him off. I'm afraid all I can do is provide you with these designs. I have to have a procedure next month, and if it's successful, I'll need to stay home for at least a year. Khloe frowned. What kind of procedure, Elaine? There was no hiding it, and Elaine had no intention of trying. She smiled. IVF. In vitro fertilization. I want to have a baby. Wyatt was stunned for a moment. He saw a flicker of sadness in Elaine's eyes, but she quickly brightened. Elaine, I totally support you, he said. Think about it. If people have kids in their 20s by the time they're old, their kids will be in their 60s or 70s, too old to really take care of anyone. But if you have a kid in your 40s by the time you're old, your child will only be 40. That's the prime age for being strong and capable of looking after someone. Huh? Elaine burst out laughing, charmed by Wyatt's quirky logic. She had told many people about her decision, Miranda, Wyatt, and Khloe included, but only 2 had been supportive. One was Miranda, whose support was genuine and heartfelt. The other was Wyatt, who not only supported her, but gave her a reason for his support, which made her incredibly happy. She covered her mouth and chuckled. Looks like I haven't thought as far ahead as you have. Elaine, when do you go to the hospital next month? The 5th. I might have to go in for a checkup in a few days. If you don't have anyone to go with you, I'll go with you, Wyatt said immediately. No, don't you have classes? Wyatt grinned. I haven't really been in my classes for a while. The president and the dean have already given me a pass. I even got a Student Excellence Award not long ago. A Student Excellence Award? You're kidding, right? Khloe wrinkled her nose, her face a mask of disbelief. Wyatt quickly pulled out his phone, opened his class group me, and presented the proof to Khloe, a smug look on his face. What do you think? Blown away? Khloe pouted, unconvinced. So what if it's a Student Excellence Award? What's the big deal? Elaine stayed out of it, watching their playful bickering with a smile. Seeing Khloe was still not convinced, Wyatt grabbed her, pulled her close, and began tickling her mercilessly. Khloe squirmed and twisted, laughing and playfully cursing him out. All right, you two, stop fooling around. Wyatt finally stopped. Feeling like she'd lost the battle, Khloe secretly pinched him onto the table. Wyatt continued. Okay, Elaine, how about this? I'll take these designs to the company and have the lady boss create a new sub-brand. I estimate it'll take about 6 months to set up the team, open a production line, and bring these designs to life. During that time, you just rest at home. I'll make sure no one bothers you unless it's absolutely necessary. If something comes up, I'll drive over myself. Your title at the company will be guest designer. What do you think? That works. Elaine thought it was a great proposal. Being a guest designer offered freedom, and it meant that if company matters arose, Wyatt and Khloe would be more inclined to visit her at home. After they finished talking, the three of them cleared the table together. Wyatt and Khloe didn't leave right away, staying with Elaine for the entire afternoon. Even though Elaine spoke casually about the procedure, Wyatt could still see a trace of worry in her eyes and expression. That evening, after leaving her place, Wyatt first called Vivien to tell her about the designs, then immediately called his mother-in-law. At that moment, Miranda and Charles were having dinner. Seeing the call from Wyatt, Miranda answered quickly. "Hello, Wyatt." "Hi, Miranda. Khloe and I just left Elaine's. Did you know she's planning to have an IVF procedure?" "I did. Did she tell you too as well?" "Yes," Wyatt said, then quickly added, "She's going to the hospital on the 5th of next month. When Khloe and I went over this morning, the slippers she gave us were brand new, still had the tags on. I don't think she has many friends here in the city. I offered to go to the hospital with her, but she said no." Miranda replied, "I'll be in New York for New Year's." "Great," Wyatt said with a smile. "I'll pick you up from the station." "Okay. Elaine just told us not to tell my mom about this," Khloe muttered as soon as Wyatt hung up the phone. Wyatt set the hotel's location in his GPS and placed his phone on the dashboard mount. "Going to the hospital for a major procedure is a big deal," he said with a smile. "How can she go without someone there?" "You'll see. Elaine is just being stubborn. She'll be happy when your mom shows up." Right. You're the smart one." On the other end, after Miranda put down her phone, Charles asked curiously, "What did he say that's making you go to New York?" Miranda's mind was still on Elaine. "She still wants a child," she replied absently. "I have to go with her to the hospital." Clatter. Charles's chopsticks fell onto the table. He stared at Miranda, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Khloe, she's pregnant." Miranda shot him a look, exasperated. "Are you an idiot? I was talking about Elaine. What does this have to do with Khloe?" That was exactly what Charles feared, so the topic had immediately sent his mind racing. He let out a long sigh of relief, picked up his chopsticks, and said, "Elaine is really something else. She didn't find a partner when she was young, and now at her age, she's putting herself through all this trouble. Isn't she just asking for misery? What do you know? If you don't know anything, then just shut your mouth." Charles quickly took a bite of food. Seeing that Miranda was still lost in thought, he asked meekly, "Do you want me to drive you there?" Miranda didn't answer him. Instead, she asked coolly, "Do you know what makes Wyatt better than you?" Charles stared at her, dumbfounded. "Just now, when I said I was going to New York," Miranda explained, "he didn't ask if I needed a ride. He just said he'd be there to pick me up. People who care about you don't ask if you need them." Charles was speechless, a flicker of shame on his face. Wyatt drove back to the hotel. As the two of them rode the elevator up from the underground garage, it stopped on the first floor. When the doors opened, the people inside and the person outside froze, stunned to see each other. Wyatt broke into an exasperated laugh. "What are you two doing here?" Standing outside the elevator was none other than Leo and Sophie. "I returned a car to you this morning, right?" Leo explained. "Tomorrow's the weekend, and I was too lazy to go back to campus, so I just got a room here." "What floor are you on?" "5th. We're on the 5th floor, too," Khloe said with a smile. After the elevator doors closed, Wyatt started teasing Sophie. "Sophie, from the looks of it, you're not planning on going back to campus tonight, are you?" "Who told you that?" "I'm just staying for a little while. I'll be gone before 7. "No way. You're going to leave Leo to face the night alone." "I can stay," she huffed, "but only if Khloe shares a room with me, and you share a room with Leo." Just as Wyatt was about to reply, Khloe suddenly grabbed his arm. "No," she blurted out anxiously. "Sophie, Leo, Wyatt." Realizing she'd let it slip, Khloe quickly tried to backtrack. What I mean is..." Sophie rolled her eyes. "Forget it. You don't have to explain. It's clear you're on Wyatt's team now." Wyatt wrapped an arm around Khloe's shoulders, grinning. "She's my girlfriend. If she's not on my team, whose team would she be on?" Sophie couldn't win against him. Seeing Leo standing there, smirking, she lifted her foot and stomped on his. Leo yelped in pain, which finally seemed to improve her mood. Wyatt and Khloe couldn't help but laugh at the scene. They never would have guessed that the gentle, quiet Sophie from their dorm could have Leo so completely wrapped around her finger. The weekend flew by. Monday was the 28th. Just 4 more days of classes until the New Year's holiday. Wyatt dutifully attended class for 3 days. On the afternoon of the 30th, he received an unexpected call from Kai Haoyu, the co-founder of MiHoYo. He said that the company's revenue for the year had been excellent, and that they had already transferred the dividend to C. Investment's corporate account. Because the amount was quite large, it might take some time for the bank to process it, but it would definitely arrive by the next evening. After investing in MiHoYo, Wyatt had, as agreed, barely interfered with their business. Although Kai Haoyu had given him a heads up about the dividend long ago, Wyatt was still thrilled to get the call. For Kai Haoyu and his team, it was a win-win partnership. If they'd had an investor meddling in their affairs, their growth wouldn't have been nearly as smooth. Sure enough, the next morning, while he was still in class, Wyatt received a text from Jessica. A deposit of $600,000 had hit the company account. Chris, seeing Wyatt grinning from ear to ear, couldn't wait for the class to end. What's got you so happy? Just got a $600,000 dividend. Come on, our company has a few projects going now. Is 600 grand really that big of a deal to you? You don't get it, you idiot, Wyatt retorted. Once a gaming company starts turning this kind of profit, its revenue next year could grow exponentially. A $600,000 dividend this year could be $6 million next year. Besides, I only invested $500,000 in this project. It's been barely a year, and I've already made my money back. What other investor can say that? Chris laughed. Well, in that case, you have to treat us to lunch, right? No time today. My mother-in-law is coming to the city this afternoon. I have to go pick her up from the station after I eat. The winter break is in 2 weeks. Our company is having a New Year's party this year. You're in charge of planning it. No problem. Let's go, time for lunch. The four of them went to the dining hall. Since they all had different tastes, they split up to get their food from different windows. Wyatt got his food and came back to the table. After eating for a while, he noticed Sam still hadn't returned. He frowned. Where's Sam? What's taking him so long? Chris smiled. He probably went to the office. The office? Your assistant has gotten pretty close with him, Chris explained. She knows the food at the dining hall is cleaner and cheaper than takeout, so she asked Sam to bring her lunch. Didn't you see him carrying a bag when we came in? It was full of lunch containers. Wyatt nodded thoughtfully. Chris continued. Her family situation must be tough. I saw her tracking her expenses on her phone yesterday, down to every last dollar or two. And her winter coat is ancient. We might not get her struggles, but Sam does. His family isn't much better off than hers, so he sympathizes with her more. She's really hardworking, though. When you're not at the office, if she has nothing to do, she helps other people with their work. She even cleans our offices. So that's why my office is always so clean, Wyatt mused. He thought for a moment, then gave an order. Okay, this afternoon, tell both Rachel and Abby to go out and buy themselves a couple of professional outfits during the New Year's holiday. Tell them it's to enhance the company's image. Rachel is the receptionist, and Abby might be accompanying me to client meetings in the future. The company will reimburse them. Got it. I'll tell them as soon as I get to the office. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Outside Penn Station, Wyatt sat in his car, waiting for Miranda's call and chatting with Khloe on the phone. Wyatt, after I pick up your mom, I'm taking her straight to Elaine's. I'll come get you this evening. Khloe, how much longer until my mom gets here? Wyatt, about half an hour. The Isabelle from Philly takes about 75 minutes. Khloe, then why did you go so early? Wyatt, to avoid the traffic. Khloe, okay, I have to go to class. This professor is really strict. I'll talk to you later. Wyatt, okay. Miranda had sent Wyatt her train schedule beforehand. At 2:35 p.m., she stepped off the train, sent Wyatt a quick text, and as soon as she exited the station, she saw him standing by the curb, waving energetically. The New Year's holiday was 3 days, and Miranda had taken another 3 days off, meaning she would be in New York for a total of 6 days. She had a small, 20-inch carry-on with her. Wyatt, you haven't been waiting long, have you? Not at all. I just got here. Wyatt took the suitcase from her, placed it in the car, and then drove toward the Upper East Side. On the way, Miranda asked about Wyatt's plans for winter break. She knew college let out early, but since Wyatt now had a company, he couldn't just head back to Riverwood as soon as break started. She wanted to know his schedule so she could arrange her own work. I should be done with finals around the 13th or 14th, but I probably won't get back to Riverwood until the end of the month. Or, after break starts, I could bring Khloe back first. Wyatt was testing her reaction. Miranda smiled. See what Khloe wants to do. If she wants to go back, you can bring her. If she doesn't, then you two can just come back together at the end of the month. Okay, tomorrow is 2016. Do you have any plans for the new year? Wyatt laughed. Not really. Plans never keep up with reality. I'm just taking it one step at a time. The company is stable now, and we have over $3 million in the bank, so there's no pressure on that front. Next year, I'm thinking of letting the team run a few of their own projects. It'll be a way to test their investment instincts and develop their skills. That's great. Miranda, for Lunar New Year's Eve, would it be okay if I take Khloe to my place for dinner first, and then we head over to Maple Creek Estates after 9? That's fine. They chatted casually, and before long, They arrived at Elaine's apartment complex. Miranda hadn't told Elaine she was coming. So when Wyatt knocked and Elaine opened the door to find both of them standing there, her first reaction was to freeze in stunned silence. Miranda smiled. "Didn't we agree I'd come with you to the hospital? Were you really planning on hiding it from me?" At her words, Elaine's eyes instantly turned red. She threw her arms around Miranda, muttering, "Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" All right, Wyatt's still here." Elaine pulled Miranda into the living room, then turned to Wyatt with a mock complaint. "Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone?" Wyatt just smiled sheepishly and scratched his head. "What are you still standing there for? Come in." I won't come in. I'll bring Khloe over this evening." Miranda nodded. "Drive safe." Khloe had 2 long classes that afternoon. Wyatt didn't rush over to the music school. He sat in his car for a while, thinking, and finally made a call to Michael Xiao. After a brief chat, he drove to Apex Capital, which wasn't far. This time, Wyatt found his way to Michael's office with ease. When he arrived, Michael was engrossed in a badminton flash game on some free game website. "You're here." Wyatt walked over and glanced at the computer screen. "You've really got a lot of free time," he said, unimpressed. Michael immediately closed the browser window. "So what's the plan for tonight? Any arrangements for New Year's Eve?" "Nothing. My mother-in-law is in town. We're having dinner together. If I ask Isabelle to go out with me for the countdown tonight, do you think she'd say yes?" Michael asked. "She will. How are you so sure? She already agreed to be your girlfriend. It's perfectly normal for a couple to spend New Year's Eve together." "Wait, are you sick? I feel like you're getting more and more timid." Michael looked embarrassed and quickly changed the subject. "By the way, a friend of mine is hosting a get-together the day after tomorrow. Want to come with me?" "What kind of get-together?" "It's all second-generation rich kids from our circle. The guy who's organizing it is the son of some big shot on the board of CCC. You know how the finance world is: trusts, securities, insurance, funds. Before I went abroad, I used to hang out with these guys a lot. After I came back, my uncle told me to spend less time with them, but I can't just cut them off completely. So when he invited me, I agreed." "What do you guys usually do?" Wyatt asked. "What else? Wine, women, and song. They're all loaded. If you come, I can introduce you around. These guys spend all their time messing around, but their social networks are tangled and complex. Once you know them, people like that guy who blocked our car last time won't dare to mess with you again." Wyatt thought for a moment and agreed. "All right, let me know when. I'm guessing we'll meet at a club. Just the 2 of us will go, stay for an hour or so, and then slip out." "Sounds good." They chatted in the office for about an hour before each driving to the music school. After waiting about 10 minutes, Khloe came down from the building. Once Khloe was in the car, Wyatt rolled down his window and waved at Michael. "I'm heading out." Michael nodded. "Wait for my call the day after tomorrow." 20 minutes later. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Elaine stood up with a smile. "That must be the 2 little rascals. I'll get the door." She walked over and opened it. Sure enough, it was Wyatt and Khloe. Wyatt slipped on his slippers and walked in, rubbing his stomach. "Elaine, when are we eating? I'm starving." Before Elaine or Miranda could reply, Khloe, who was trailing behind him, balled up her fist and playfully punched him in the back. "You just got here, and you're already whining about being hungry. Have you no shame?" Wyatt immediately tattled. "Miranda, Elaine, you have to see this. She's always hitting me now. Her temper is getting worse and worse." Khloe's face turned bright red. "Shut up." Wyatt shot a pitiful look at Miranda, who glanced at her watch and said with a gentle smile, "It's just past 5. Let's go out to eat at 5:30. Then, she picked up a small plate of pastries from the coffee table and offered it to Wyatt. "Here, have a snack first." Wyatt grinned and sat down right next to Miranda. "She's my mom. Why are you sitting so close to her?" Khloe glared at him. "Move," she said irritably. "That's my spot." Sitting next to Miranda, Wyatt felt emboldened. For once, he stood his ground. "Your name isn't on it. Move it." Wyatt patted his own thigh. "I'm not moving. You can sit on my lap if you want." Khloe glanced at her mother and Elaine, then quickly shut her mouth. Her face flushed as she sat down on the other side. Miranda and Elaine exchanged a knowing smile. That evening, the 4 of them went to a popular hot pot restaurant in Greenwich Village. They ordered 3 different broths, a spicy one, a mushroom one, and a tomato one. Watching Wyatt and Khloe eat with such gusto, a faint smile never left Elaine's face. She knew that if Wyatt hadn't brought Miranda over today, she would have likely spent the evening at home, making something simple for herself. Moreover, with the procedure just around the corner, being alone meant her mind would inevitably drift to it, filling her with anxiety. But now, with 3 people keeping her company, her mood had lightened considerably. "You 2 have a 3-day break for New Year's, right?" Elaine asked with a smile. "Yeah. Khloe's school is close by." "Wyatt, your campus is farther away. Where are you staying tonight?" When I come over on weekends, I usually just get a hotel near Khloe's school for a couple of nights, Wyatt replied. I saw there are plenty of hotels around here. I'll just find one nearby for tonight. And what about you, Khloe? I. Khloe stammered, a little embarrassed to answer. Miranda took a sip of her drink and answered for her. She'll stay in a hotel nearby with Wyatt. For the next 3 days, she'll be with us. Good. That's more convenient, Elaine said. Khloe kept her head down, her cheeks warm, and focused on eating the slices of lamb Wyatt was placing in her bowl. On the drive over, Miranda had noticed a change of pajamas in her daughter's bag. It was clear she had already planned to stay with Wyatt for the next few days. But Miranda had long suspected they had reached this stage, so she didn't say anything in the car. 3 months had passed since the fall break, and Miranda could see that her daughter had changed again. An outsider might not notice, but as her mother, she could tell from her subtle glances and gestures. Miranda deliberately changed the subject, asking Elaine about her travels. As the two women began to chat, Khloe visibly relaxed and lifted her head again. Seeing a stray strand of her hair floating near her face, Wyatt put down his chopsticks and reached over to gently tuck it behind her ear. Khloe sat perfectly still. When he was done, she leaned closer to him and whispered, "Wipe your mouth." Wyatt quickly grabbed a napkin and obediently cleaned his mouth. It was nearly 8 o'clock when they left the restaurant. Since they had only taken one car, Wyatt first drove Miranda and Elaine back to the apartment complex. Just as he was about to find a hotel nearby with Khloe, Miranda called out to him. "Wyatt, I want to have a word with Khloe. You can wait in the car." "Sure thing." Wyatt got back in the car. Miranda pulled Khloe around a corner and started with a roundabout question. "Winter break is coming up. Wyatt has to stay in the city until the end of the month. Do you want to go back to Riverwood with him then, or go back as soon as your break starts?" Khloe knew Wyatt had to stay in New York for a while after the semester ended. She had already decided to go back with him. If one of her roommates had asked, she would have answered confidently. But with her mother asking, she felt shy and tongue-tied. Miranda put an arm around her shoulder. "What? You're embarrassed to tell your own mother?" she asked with a smile. Only then did Khloe say, "I'll go back with him." "Okay." Miranda nodded, smiling. "You're an adult now. When people ask you something, just say what you think. You and Wyatt have been together for a long time. It's perfectly normal that you want to be with him. I've been there. I just want you to remember that there are some things you still need to be careful about." "I know." Miranda then took a rectangular box wrapped in a black plastic bag from her purse and pressed it into Khloe's hand. She gently patted her daughter's head. "Remember to come over for breakfast tomorrow morning. Don't oversleep." "Okay." Khloe, not knowing what was in the bag, nodded obediently and got back into Wyatt's car. After Miranda waved them off, Wyatt drove away. As they waited at a red light, Wyatt asked curiously, "What did your mom say to you? She even made me leave." "I'm not telling you." "Come on, I want to know." "No." "What's that in your hand?" "I don't know. My mom gave it to me." Khloe, just as curious, opened the plastic bag. The contents immediately fell onto her lap. Both of them looked down at the same time. When Wyatt saw it was a box of Trojans, his eyes went wide. Khloe froze for 2 seconds, then quickly covered the box with a plastic bag. Within 5 seconds, her face had turned the color of a ripe apple. The atmosphere in the car instantly became charged. "What kind of move is this? My mother-in-law is too understanding." "No, Weichi. My mother-in-law is the best." Wyatt's mind started racing, while Khloe's brain had turned to mush. Thinking back on what her mother had just said, every sentence now seemed to have a hidden meaning. The more she thought, the more embarrassed she became. Wyatt found a hotel nearby. After checking into a king room, they took the elevator up. This was the umpteenth time they had been alone in a room together, but because of that little box, they both felt surprisingly awkward. After a long silence, Wyatt finally spoke. You want to shower first?" "You first." "No, you go ahead." "You first." Wyatt grinned. "Or, we could go together." Khloe grabbed a throw pillow and hurled it at him. "Get lost." Wyatt just laughed, grabbed his things, and disappeared into the bathroom. When he came out, he lay down on the bed and started playing on his phone as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Khloe took her pajamas from her bag and went to take a shower as well. After she was done, she dried her hair, filling the room with a faint scent of shampoo. She glanced at Wyatt on the bed, walked to the other side, and turned off the main lights before slipping under the covers. She lay there for a long time, watching Wyatt scroll endlessly on his phone. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. "What are you doing?" "I was just checking the stock market." "Now I'm changing your mom's contact name." "Changing her name?" Khloe propped herself up and rested her head on Wyatt's shoulder, watching as he changed the contact from mother-in-law. "Mom, are you crazy? Who told you to change that? We'll have to change it sooner or later anyway. What's wrong with changing in my phone now?" "Change it back." No. If you call my mom Mom, then what do you call your own mother? I call her Mom. Wyatt smiled. One is my mom, the other is Mom. There's no conflict. You have the thickest skin of anyone on the planet. Can I ask you something? Seeing the mischievous glint in Wyatt's eye, Khloe sensed danger. She quickly lay back down and pulled the covers over her head. Not listening, go away, she chanted. Come on, let's just talk about it. No, please. Hey, stop touching me. On the first day of a New Year's break, Wyatt and Khloe didn't go anywhere. They got up early and went straight to Elaine's apartment. They spent the entire day there, had dinner, and then returned to the hotel. On the second, Wyatt drove them to St. Patrick's Cathedral. At Miranda's request, Wyatt and Khloe went inside with them to light a candle and say a prayer. Throughout the entire process, Elaine was deeply devout. For a woman her age, having a child was not an easy path. She just hoped everything would go smoothly, without any complications. With Miranda there, Wyatt didn't need to offer words of comfort. He understood the unspoken anxieties and simply stood by, offering his silent support. Unlike a remote monastery, St. Patrick's was right in the heart of the bustling city, surrounded by half a dozen major department stores and adjacent to the greenery of Central Park. They had lunch nearby, took a walk in the park, and when they returned to the apartment that afternoon, Wyatt didn't stay long. I'm meeting Michael tonight for a get-together, he told Khloe. It's a bunch of people from the finance world. I'll just go show my face and come right back. Wait for me to pick you up. Before Khloe could reply, Miranda chimed in, don't drink too much. I won't. Wyatt first called Michael to arrange to meet at his place, then drove off. After he left, Miranda glanced at Khloe and said casually, these kind of social obligations are unavoidable, and the finance world places a huge emphasis on networking, so he'll have to do it even more often. Don't give him a hard time about it in the future. Khloe's eyes widened in surprise, as if to say, I wasn't going to say anything. Elaine laughed. Miranda, let the young people handle their own affairs. If you keep nagging, Khloe's going to get tired of you. I'm just afraid she doesn't understand some things and will just keep it to herself. You don't have to worry about that. Elaine looked like she had seen it all. Even if she doesn't say anything, Wyatt can definitely guess. Didn't you see at lunch? The moment Khloe put down her chopsticks, Wyatt knew she wanted a drink. The moment Wyatt put his down, Khloe handed him 2 napkins. Their chemistry is like something out of a TV show, huh? Elaine. All right, I won't say any more. Wyatt drove to Michael's place. He hung out there for about an hour and a half before they left together for the underground garage. We'll take my car. Sure. Wyatt started walking toward Michael's usual car, but Michael suddenly pressed his key fob. The headlights of a McLaren flashed. Michael dangled the keys, grinning. This one. Whoa, you have a sports car. This is just for show. I bought it years ago. It doesn't even have 3,000 miles on it. For the truly wealthy, a sports car was just another social tool. It was Wyatt's first time riding in one. While it was novel, it wasn't nearly as comfortable as he'd imagined. Michael drove them to a club in Dumbo called the Earl. As they pulled up, Wyatt saw a whole row of colorful sports cars parked along the street. He felt like a country bumpkin gawking at the big city. Anyone who didn't know better would have thought there was a car show happening. As they got out, a uniformed staff member hurried over, bowing respectfully. Right this way, gentlemen. Michael was used to it. Is Carter Xiao here yet? He asked casually. He is. Mr. Xiao booked the whole place tonight. A lot of people have already arrived. Booked the whole place again? Michael scoffed. That spendthrift is going to bankrupt his old man sooner or later. The valet didn't dare comment, simply leading them politely into the club. They walked down a 30-foot hallway, the walls covered in loud posters and graffiti. Around a corner, the sound of chatter grew louder. As they entered the main area, a sharp-eyed heir spotted them and shouted, Michael's here. Michael! Michael! Watching the well-dressed young men at the booths stand up to greet Michael, Wyatt realized just how high Michael's status was among the city's rich kids. But on second thought, it made sense. Michael was already working at his uncle's firm and was a shoo-in to take over one day. The other heirs, while rich, weren't all guaranteed to inherit the family business. Plus, Michael was older. It was natural he held a higher position. A guy in a blue sweater with a diamond stud in his right ear came over, bumped fists with Michael, then pointed at Wyatt. Michael, who's this? This is my boy, Wyatt. He's the owner of Investments. Hearing they were so close, and that someone so young was already the boss of an investment firm, the man with the ear stud quickly extended his hand. Hey, I'm Carter Xiao. Nice to meet you. After a brief handshake, they were ushered over to a booth. Michael introduced Wyatt to a few people he knew. Just as he'd said, the 20 or 30 guys, they were either the sons of finance moguls or corporate giants. In short, they all had connections. Seeing them all dressed in designer clothes that cost thousands of dollars per piece, Wyatt couldn't help but think. Being born is a skill. The group of heirs quickly resumed their conversation, which revolved around the usual topics: food, drinks, fun, and women. You guys haven't heard? The one living the best life right now is Brandon. His dad invested in a live streaming company 6 months ago. What was it called? Oh, right, Bloom Live. The platform has like 200 or 300 female streamers, all gorgeous. Look at this guy, he can barely walk straight anymore. Ha ha ha. Justin Jean, shut the hell up with your rumors. When have I ever not been able to walk straight? Then tell me if what I said isn't true. Stop talking crap. It's true there are 200 or 300 streamers, but the idea that they're all gorgeous is a joke. You have no idea how insane the beauty filters are now. I've been to their company many times. The number of girls who are actually good-looking is just a handful. The rest are mess. It's true. You can't trust photos or videos online anymore. The other night, some college girl slid into my DMs on Instagram. Her photos looked amazing, great body, so I chatted with her all night. The next day, I asked her to meet up. I drove over and, damn, it was just like the song says, short, fat, and no ways to be found. Hey, Carter, aren't we getting some entertainment tonight? Are we just going to sit here and talk? Carter picked up his phone and smiled. What's the rush? I invited about a dozen beautiful girls to come hang out with us. All college students. We'll dance, drink, whatever. Hearing this, Wyatt shot a subtle glance at Michael. Michael quickly said, you guys have your fun later. Wyatt and I won't be joining. The heir named Justin Jean gave a thumbs up. Michael, as principled as ever. No wonder my dad always tells me to learn from you. Michael kicked him playfully in the leg. Get lost, he laughed. Ha ha. Meanwhile, Lily was on the subway, chatting and laughing with a few girls she had met off campus. She had met them at a club while she was still with Trevor. They even had a group chat called the NYC Sugar Babies Club. The members constantly posted photos of their lives. Afternoon tea, fancy desserts, mansion pools, and designer bags. Listen up, one of the girls, Yvette, was saying, the Earl is completely booked out tonight by a private party. It's full of rich heirs. If you want to land a whale, you'd better be on your A game. Yvette, how did you even get to know them? Someone else invited me. Anyway, when we get there, if someone comes up to you, you'd better not ignore them. Otherwise, I won't bring you next time. Ha, of course. Lily, why are you holding onto your skirt like that? It's too short. I'm afraid I'll flash someone. Then why did you wear it? Didn't you guys say tonight was a super high-end party? So are you still going to be holding it like that when we get there? Of course not. Do you think I'm stupid? Huh, back at the club. Carter, where are the girls? What's your damn hurry? I told them 9 o'clock. It's barely past 8. It'll be hilarious if no one shows up. Impossible. There will only be more, not fewer, Carter said confidently. Last time I invited 2, and 7 or 8 showed up. When I asked who the others were, they all said they were best friends. You believe that crap? Brandon said, speaking from experience. Let me tell you, those types are club regulars. They've probably been with more men than you've been with women. Ha ha ha. The group erupted in laughter again. Wyatt hadn't participated in their conversations, sitting silently at the booth and picking at the fruit platter. Seeing this, Carter said jokingly, it's Wyatt's first time here, so we have to show him some hospitality. When the pretty ones arrive, you guys aren't allowed to compete with him. Wyatt quickly waved his hands. No, I have a girlfriend. I just came with Michael to see the scene. Don't mind me, just do your own thing. Brandon, sitting next to him, looked at Wyatt's righteous act with disdain. Exactly. We're all scumbags. He's a man destined for great things. Why would he hang out with us? Hearing this, Michael's voice turned cold. Brandon, what's with the passive-aggressive tone? Brandon quickly backtracked. I'm not. I'm just telling the truth. I've already admitted I'm a scumbag. Another heir quickly jumped in. You can admit it, but I haven't. We're all straightforward guys here. We don't do shady things. It's all about consent. Exactly, Brandon sneered. That's how it is these days. If you offer to pay a college girl 20 grand to be your sugar baby for a month, she'll call you a psycho scumbag. But if you start a company and hire her for 10 grand, she might just throw herself at you. Wyatt didn't comment, remaining silent. About 10 minutes later, Carter's phone finally rang. He picked it up, then stood up with a grin. They're here. I'll go get them. Someone tell the boss to get the DJ ready to start. Carter returned shortly with a group of girls in tow. The other heirs brought over bottles of liquor, and on the stage, the DJ started spinning. The once quiet club quickly filled with noise. Carter hadn't been lying. He had indeed only invited about a dozen girls, but within half an hour, 30 or 40 had shown up. The once empty club was suddenly buzzing with life. Just as Wyatt was about to slip out with Michael, a voice from behind made him turn his head in surprise. Carter, let me introduce you. These are my good friends. This is Tina, this is Amanda, this is Lauren, and this is Lily. Nice to meet you all. They have to get back to their dorms tonight. Oh, they'll get locked out. So we have to leave before 10:30. What's the worry? I'll just get you a couple of rooms at a hotel nearby. When Yvette introduced Lily, Lily kept her head down, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear, looking as innocent as if it were her first time in such a place. Since meeting Trevor, she had become familiar with luxury brands. As soon as she walked over, she noticed Carter was wearing a Versace sweatshirt, a single piece of clothing that probably cost more than her entire semester's living expenses. However, Carter didn't seem interested in any of them. After a few cursory words, he went off to greet someone else. Lily was disappointed, but didn't give up. After all, there were plenty of other guys here. The luxury cars parked outside were proof that these are the kind of super-rich heirs she could never normally meet. In her eyes, they were all prime targets. As Lily turned to scan for her next mark, her eyes accidentally met Wyatt's. The moment she saw him, her jaw dropped. She looked as if she'd seen a ghost, her eyes filled with shock, nervousness, and disbelief. What's he doing here? Lily's heart pounded, and the insults Wyatt had hurled at her that day echoed in her ears. Wyatt looked her up and down, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. He turned and said something to Michael. After hearing him, they both stood up, said a quick goodbye to the guys around them, and walked toward the exit. As Wyatt brushed past her, Lily could clearly see the contemptuous smirk on his face. She felt like she'd been struck by lightning. On the way back, "Not used to hanging out with those idiots, are you?" Michael asked with a laugh. "It was fine." Wyatt shrugged. "Just making an appearance. You never know when a connection might come in handy. It's not like I'm trying to be their friend." "Right. So, New Year's Eve, where did you and Isabelle go?" "We just had dinner and a few drinks." Michael smiled. "I just found out she can drink. She gets all red when she drinks, and when she gets red, she... Michael trailed off, too embarrassed to finish, and just mumbled the rest. Wyatt didn't press him. "Did you get to hold her hand?" "She only let me hold it for 10 minutes. And she told me that from now on, I can only hold her hand for 10 minutes each day." "What does that even mean?" "She's putting a time limit on hand-holding. She lets you hold it for 10 minutes, so you only hold it for 10 minutes? Are you an idiot?" "Well, what else am I supposed to do? Be a scoundrel. If you just don't let go, what's she gonna do?" Wyatt lectured him like a seasoned pro. "You can't ask for her permission for everything. That's not how it works. Have you ever seen a relationship where the girl just offers her hand for the guy to hold, or offers her lips for him to kiss? You gotta be a little shameless." Now that you put it that way, it's like a light bulb just went on in my head. January 3rd, the last day of the New Year's break. It was also the day Abby was moving. She woke up early, packing all her clothes into a suitcase and folding her bedding into a large woven plastic bag. She hadn't been in the city for long, so she didn't have many belongings. Besides clothes and bedding, the rest were just daily necessities. She put the awkwardly shaped items into a bucket and stuffed the rest of the small things into her backpack. Then she began mopping the floor and wiping down the desk. In no time, she had the tiny 150-square-foot room sparkling clean, even neater than when she had moved in. Just as she was about to call her landlady, she received a text message. It was from Sam. "I'm here. Which building are you in?" Abby saw the message, walked to the window, and looked down. She spotted Sam immediately and quickly opened the window to call out his name. Hearing her, Sam started walking toward her building. Abby ran downstairs to meet him. It was a rundown old apartment complex, originally built as subsidized housing. But due to its mediocre location, over 80% of the units were rented out, resulting in a chaotic mix of residents and poor sanitation. The hallways were plastered with ads for locksmiths and plumbers. The paint was peeling from the water-damaged walls, and chunks of plaster had fallen from the ceiling. Coupled with the lack of lighting, the building felt incredibly oppressive. As Abby led the way, she said sheepishly, I could have managed on my own." "I'm free on my break anyway," Sam replied quickly. "An extra pair of hands will save some time." Rachel wanted to come too, but she saw that the room you're moving into wasn't very clean. So, she's over there cleaning it now. "You can start setting up as soon as you get there." "Thank you." Abby opened the door. The other tenants she shared the apartment with were already out. She led Sam to the room at the far end of the hall. When she pushed the door open, he could see she had already packed all her things. "Just wait a second. I need to call my landlady." "Okay." Abby called her landlady, said a few words, and then sent over a couple of photos of the clean room. The landlady promptly refunded her security deposit. Abby beamed. "Okay, we can go now." Sam picked up the heaviest suitcase and headed downstairs. Abby quickly shouldered her backpack, grabbed the bucket, and followed him. It took them 2 trips to move everything down. Then, Abby ordered an Uber on her phone. "We should probably wait at the entrance to the complex." The driver might not come in. Yeah. Abby, with her backpack on and bucket in hand, watched as Sam handled the suitcase and the large bag. She felt a little embarrassed. Maybe I should take the suitcase. It's fine. The suitcase has wheels. It's no trouble. The roads were packed with holiday traffic. They waited at the entrance for a long time, but there was no sign of the Uber. Sam stood by the road, watching Abby, who was anxiously peering in the direction of oncoming traffic. Suddenly, he was reminded of his own arrival in the city. Back then, he had come to register for school all by himself, also laden with bags. Stepping out of the station and seeing the towering skyscrapers of the big city, he hadn't felt joy, only a sense of his own smallness, of not belonging. Time flies, he thought. Just as Sam was lost in his memories, Abby suddenly shouted, Sam, the car's here. Oh. Sam snapped back to reality and hurried over. Once the car stopped, he loaded the luggage into the trunk, and they both got into the back seat. It was a Nissan Sentra. The back seat was relatively spacious for its class, but the driver was a heavy smoker, and the whole car was filled with the faint, nauseating smell of stale smoke. Abby covered her nose and tried to roll down the window, but the driver seemed to have locked them. After a few failed attempts, she gave up, too shy to ask the driver to open them. A year ago, Sam would have done the same and just endured it. But perhaps from spending so much time with Wyatt and Chris, his personality had slowly changed. He spoke up immediately. Sir, could you please open the back windows? The smoke is really strong. Sure. The driver quickly opened both rear windows halfway. As the cool breeze blew in, Abby uncovered her nose and gave Sam a small, grateful smile. The ride took over 40 minutes. After they arrived, they got out and unloaded the luggage. The complex where Rachel lived was much nicer than Abby's old place. Although the rent for her room was $150 more, it was much closer to the office, making her commute far more convenient. Abby texted Rachel, who quickly ran down to help them carry everything upstairs. So what do you think? I've already cleaned it. Does it look okay? Yes. Abby nodded excitedly. The previous tenant must have also been a woman. All 4 walls were covered in pink wallpaper. Best of all, the room had a south-facing window that let in plenty of sunlight. Let's get your bed set up first, Rachel suggested. See if you're missing anything. We can pick it up when we go shopping this afternoon. Seeing that he wasn't much help anymore, Sam stood at the door. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll get going. Oh, Abby quickly stood up. Why don't you have lunch with us? Rachel jumped in with a smile. Yeah, have lunch with us. You bring us food from the dining hall every day. Let's treat you for once. Sam scratched his head, embarrassed, but finally nodded in agreement. The 2 girls quickly got to work setting up the room. Abby didn't have much, so once the bed was made and her clothes were hung up, the room was mostly done. For lunch, the 3 of them found a dive bar with a great patio near the complex and ordered 3 simple dishes and a soup. Let's have a toast. Once the food arrived, Rachel raised her glass of soda. To our future. May it be bright, may our work be successful, and may all our wishes come true. Sam and Abby looked at each other, then raised their glasses to clink with hers. To a successful career and all our wishes coming true. Cheers. Cheers. That afternoon, Rachel and Abby went shopping for clothes. Chris had already told them about the company reimbursing them before the break started. Sam felt it would be awkward to tag along, so after lunch, he took the subway back to campus alone. The dorm room was empty. Chris was out with Paige. Alex had spent the 3-day break treating the campus reps for C&W Commerce to meals. And as for Wyatt, he was rarely in the dorm even when it wasn't a holiday. Sam pulled out his chair and sat down, a smile spreading across his face as he replayed the morning's events in his mind. After a short break, he started cleaning the dorm. It wasn't until 5 o'clock that his 3 roommates started trickling back in. Come on, try some of these frosted sour cherries I bought. They're sweet and sour, so good. Alex held out a container, offering some to his roommates. Wyatt tried a couple and thought they were pretty good. Where'd you get them? There's a new shop that just opened up at the Riverwood Institute of Technology. I just passed by and bought some. Just as Wyatt was about to grab a couple more, Alex pulled the container back. I only bought a few. Don't eat them all yourself. Get out of here. Wyatt playfully kicked at him. Alex dodged, but still let Wyatt have 2 more. Wyatt didn't plan on telling Alex about running into Lily at the Earl. They had broken up for good, and bringing her up would only cause him unnecessary stress. Chris asked with a smile, Wyatt, where have you been messing around these past 3 days? My mother-in-law was in town. Where could I go? I was stuck in a hotel for 3 days, didn't go anywhere. Chris sighed wistfully. Seriously, it's crowded everywhere during the holidays. Next break, I'm definitely not going out. I'm just going to be like Sam and stay in the dorm. Sam, did you wipe my desk? Why is it so clean? I just wiped it down. I don't have anything else to do in the dorm anyway. Did you pass your advanced English exam? Wyatt asked, concerned. The results don't come out until February, but I should be fine. Sam paused, remembering his Uber ride with Abby that morning. Chris, how much did it cost you to get your driver's license at the campus driving school? Around $300. Chris asked back, you thinking of getting your license too? Sam nodded, but won't it take up a lot of time? Before Chris could answer, Wyatt jumped in. Don't worry about that. The final exams are a piece of cake for you, and things are slow at the office right now. You'll definitely need a license eventually. You have more than 2 weeks before the Lunar New Year. If you sign up now, you might even be able to pass the behind-the-wheel test before then. I can spot you the money if you need it. I have enough. Sam's monthly salary was already more than enough to cover his living expenses. He no longer needed money from his family, and had even started sending some back home periodically. He knew full well that his current salary had little to do with his abilities. Carter and Greg handled the main investment work. He hadn't done much at the company, so he spent all his free time studying investment cases and frequently asked Carter for advice. He was already prepared to build his entire career at sea. Investments. The next day was Monday. With no classes in the afternoon, Wyatt and Chris headed to the office after lunch. Sam had already left earlier to bring lunch for Abby and Rachel. After the fresh market was sold, he had kept one of the electric scooters for deliveries, which made getting to the office quite convenient. Before they even walked in, Wyatt saw Abby and Rachel leaning over the front desk, chatting. They were both wearing their new outfits from yesterday's shopping trip. From the back, he couldn't even tell who was who. As Wyatt walked in, he slung an arm around Chris's shoulder. Look at that, look at that. They changed their clothes, and I almost didn't recognize them. Hearing Wyatt's voice, Abby quickly turned around, and Rachel stood up. Rachel was wearing a high-collared, cream-colored sweater with a black and white plaid skirt and a pair of heels, looking every bit the sophisticated professional. Abby wore a gray women's blazer over a black sweater with a pair of jeans, also looking like a career woman. Rachel spun around with a smile. Mr. Evans, what do you think? Does this look okay? Of course it is. This skirt alone cost several $100s, Rachel grumbled. If the company wasn't paying for it, we'd never buy something like this. Let me tell you, girls your age need to learn to invest in yourselves. There are 2 ways to do that, materially and intellectually. The material investment is dressing yourselves up nicely every day. It gives you confidence, and confident people tend to be more successful. The intellectual investment is reading more books and learning new things. Knowledge gives you a natural elegance. The former enhances your outside, the latter your inside. You have to think long-term. Wyatt paused for a moment, then continued, the reason it's so hard for ordinary people to get ahead is because they get comfortable with the status quo. They could spend a few years improving themselves for long-term rewards, but they'd rather stay in their comfort zones, stuck in a rut. The 2 girls were mesmerized. Wyatt just smiled, not caring if they had truly absorbed his words, and walked into his office. He had barely sat down when he got a call from Michael. This time it was about business. Inc. Live had nearly burned through their initial investment and was looking for a second round of funding. Michael was calling to get Wyatt's opinion. Carter had been keeping an eye on Inc. Live. The first round of funding had been spent on software optimization and promotion. Recent back-end data showed that they had already built a loyal user base. Wyatt didn't answer right away. Do you want to follow on? He asked instead. About their financial reports right here, Michael said. Based on the data, I think we should. Then it's the usual deal. Whatever you put in, I'll match. They're looking to raise $30 million in this round. If we split it, you'll have to put in $15 million. You don't want to think about it some more. No need. Fine. If a small firm like yours dares to go in, what do I have to be afraid of? They talked for about 15 minutes before hanging up. After relaying the information to Carter, Wyatt went back to his office and sent a message to his mother-in-law. Wyatt, Miranda, I don't have class tomorrow morning. Do you need me at the hospital? Miranda replied quickly. The doctor said it's best for her to stay in the hospital for observation for 2 days after the procedure. You can come if you have time. I'm afraid I won't be able to manage on my own. Wyatt, will do. On the morning of the 5th, Wyatt left campus early. He first stopped by the Riverwood Institute of Technology to buy a few boxes of the frosted sour cherries Alex had brought back, then drove to the music school. He arrived just as the first class was letting out. Khloe, having received his message, quickly came down from the building. She ran to his car, beaming. What are you doing here today? There's a lot to do at the hospital, probably a lot of running around. I'm worried your mom won't be able to handle it alone. My classes are done for review week anyway, so I'm going to go help out. Then why didn't you go straight to the hospital? Khloe asked, though she already knew the answer. Wyatt handed her a box of the frosted sour cherries. My roommate brought some of these back to the dorm yesterday. I thought they tasted pretty good, so I wanted to get some for you to try. Khloe took the cherries. Although she wanted to spend more time with him, with final exams approaching, she didn't want to leave a bad impression on her professors. She glanced around furtively, then stepped closer to the driver's side window and beckoned to Wyatt. "Come here." "What for?" "Oh, just hurry up." Wyatt leaned closer to the window. Khloe seized the opportunity, poked her head into the car, and left a light kiss on the corner of his lips before grabbing the box of cherries and skipping back toward the school building. Wyatt watched her go, then drove away from the music school with a smile. Meanwhile, Miranda and Elaine had already arrived at NYU Langone Hospital. After completing the admission paperwork, there were a few final tests to be done before the procedure. When Wyatt arrived, his main job was to run errands. They had a quick lunch at the hospital cafeteria. At around 2 in the afternoon, Elaine was wheeled into the operating room. In less than half an hour, the procedure was over, and it had gone smoothly. Wyatt spent that night at a hotel near the hospital. The next afternoon, Elaine was discharged, and Miranda returned to Philadelphia that same evening. The following week flew by. On the morning of the 8th, final exams began. Wyatt's strategy remained the same: copy what he could and leave blank what he couldn't. After 4 or 5 days of exams, the students of the finance program finally began their winter break. When Khloe's break started on the 15th, Wyatt picked her up from school and took her to a hotel near the office. He had also brought his own luggage. For the next 2 weeks, they would be living together. With the start of winter break, Wyatt quickly transitioned from student to investment firm owner. He kept a close eye on the follow-up investment in IncLive. On the 20th, he even led a team to Apex Capital to negotiate the investment details with Michael's team and the people from IncLive. During this time, Khloe accompanied Wyatt to the office every day. While he was busy with work, Khloe was busy winning hearts and minds. After a week, she seemed to have become friends with all the female employees. She bought them milk tea or coffee almost daily. Finally, even Wyatt couldn't stand it anymore. He pulled her aside and said seriously, "Khloe, I'm not trying to criticize you, but you don't have to treat everyone every day." Khloe said proudly, "I'm spending my own money. What's it to you? If you're this generous every day, what happens when you're not here? If I don't buy them things, they might think I'm stingy. Is that so?" "Of course." "Fine, I get it." Just as Wyatt was about to say something else, Abby knocked and walked in. "Lady boss, the milk tea you wanted me to order has arrived." As she spoke, Abby placed 2 cups of red bean milk tea on Wyatt's desk. "How much is it in total?" Khloe asked quickly. $375. Khloe immediately looked at Wyatt and ordered. "Did you hear that? $375. Venmo her the money." "I thought you were treating." "I am. I'm treating, but you're paying." "Why?" "My money is my money. Your money is also my money." "Khloe." "What?" "You've really become a bad influence." Hearing the two of them flirting, Abby discreetly left the office. She was actually 2 years older than Khloe. When Khloe had first started coming around, Abby hadn't known what to call her. Calling her by her first name seemed disrespectful, since she was the boss's girlfriend, but Abby was older. After much thought, she decided that Lady Boss was the most appropriate title. Once she started it, everyone else at the company followed suit. And Khloe, far from disliking the title, seemed to revel in it. As the year drew to a close, the temperature in New York dropped again and again. The 27th was the day of the company's New Year's party. At 2 in the afternoon, Wyatt gathered all the employees in the conference room for an annual review meeting. The meeting lasted nearly 2 hours. Around 4 o'clock, Wyatt personally shut off the company's power and locked the main door. Then, the group of 20-plus people went downstairs, got into their cars, and headed in a grand procession to the Springs Resort and Spa, which Chris had booked. Chris had reserved the venue for the company party 2 weeks in advance. The plan for the evening was to have dinner first, followed by massages, hot springs, and sauna services provided by the resort. Chris had already booked rooms for everyone, so they could go straight to bed after eating and drinking their fill. When the group, with an average age of less than 25, arrived at the resort, they were immediately stunned by the luxurious decor. For many of them, it was their first time in such a place, and they were fascinated by everything. Chris first distributed the room keys and briefly explained the services offered. Then the group proceeded to the grand dining hall. At the company party, Wyatt, as the boss, couldn't avoid drinking. Fortunately, the company wasn't large, and half the employees were women, so he just about managed. After a few rounds of drinks, Wyatt looked at the smiling faces around the table and felt a sense of accomplishment. "Let's do even better next year," he thought to himself. He raised his glass to take a sip, only to realize that the liquor in his cup had been secretly replaced with Sprite. He immediately turned to look at Khloe, who was pretending like nothing had happened. Wyatt shook his head slightly and said to Chris beside him, "I'm done. You take over from here. I need to go rest." "Got it." Chris pulled a key card from his bag and passed it to Wyatt under the table. The room he had booked for Wyatt was the most expensive suite in the resort, not only larger in size, but also with a small private hot spring pool outdoors. Wyatt took the key card, then stood up and pulled Khloe with him. As soon as they left the dining hall, he felt a wave of dizziness, his head heavy and his feet light. Seeing him stumbling, Khloe quickly supported him, though she complained, "No one forced you to drink. Why did you have so much? I was happy. Besides, when they toasted me, it wouldn't have been right for me to drink soda. If only you had swapped it for Sprite earlier. You dork, you're so heavy. You smell so good. You stink. Don't you dare sniff me." Wyatt deliberately breathed on her. Khloe quickly covered his mouth, leading him to their room with a look of disgust. The resort room had a rustic, lodge-style charm. Nearly every piece of furniture was made of natural wood, giving the space a simple, clean feel. Cece half-dragged, half-supported Wyatt into the room and unceremoniously dumped him on the bed. The moment he hit the mattress, Wyatt had no intention of getting up again. He was in that strange, pleasant state where his mind was perfectly clear, but his head was spinning just enough to push all his worries to the back burner. Cece looked at him, lying there like a log, and pulled a thermos from her bag. She walked over to the bed and nudged him. "Get up. Drink some water. Don't want—" Kneeling on the soft mattress, Cece tugged his ear. "Come on. If you don't drink this, I'm leaving you here." Wyatt reluctantly propped himself up, then shamelessly leaned against her. Under Cece's coercion, he drank half a cup of the warm, date-infused water from the thermos. He had to admit, his stomach felt a little better. "I already told my mom we're coming back tomorrow night," Cece said. "We need to get to sleep early tonight." "Okay, so go take a shower. It's not even 8 o'clock. Just go wash up early." "What's wrong with getting to bed early?" Wyatt rubbed his head and sat up, waiting a moment for the room to stop spinning. As he stood to head for the bathroom, he noticed a wooden sliding door he hadn't seen before. Curious, he pulled it open. Beyond it was a small, private courtyard, no bigger than a large balcony. In the center, steam rose from a small hot tub, just a little larger than a standard bathtub. The courtyard was enclosed by a dense screen of bamboo, making it look like a scene from a movie. "Cece, come look. There's a hot tub out here." Cece stood up and peered into the courtyard, her eyes wide with curiosity at the steaming pool. Wyatt turned to look at her, about to speak, but Cece seemed to read his mind. "No," she said instantly. "I'm not getting in a hot tub with you." "Hey." Wyatt's eyes widened. "I didn't even say anything. Can you not shoot me down so fast?" Cece suppressed a smile. "I can tell what you're thinking just by the look in your eyes now." "Fine, you win." Wyatt didn't press the issue. Instead, right in front of her, he started taking off his clothes. "What are you doing?" Cece demanded. "Getting in a hot tub. Can't you at least go outside to get undressed?" "Whatever," Wyatt grumbled. "After all those swimming lessons, what part of me haven't you seen?" Cece was speechless. Wyatt quickly shed his jacket, sweater, and long johns, leaving him in just his boxers. He stepped into the chilly courtyard. The air temperature was barely above freezing, but the moment he slipped into the hot tub, the cold vanished, replaced by a wave of relief as every pore in his body seemed to sigh open. "Ah, this is amazing," he breathed, leaning back with a look of pure bliss. Watching him, Cece felt a flicker of temptation. The thought of checking soak in a hot tub with the person I like off her mental list was appealing, but a girlish shyness held her back. She waited, knowing he would give her an excuse to give in. She knew that look on his face. He was already plotting how to lure her over. Sure enough, a moment later, Wyatt's voice was pure enticement. "It's so nice. You're not going to try it?" No, that was the opening he needed. Wyatt pressed on. "Come on, just lock the main door and slide this one shut. No one else is here." Cece was already wavering, her eyes darting around as she fought a final, losing battle with herself. "If you don't come over here, I'm coming to get you." Cece muttered "pervert" under her breath, but she was already on her feet. She walked to the main door, checked that it was locked, then slid the wooden door to the courtyard shut. 2 or 3 minutes passed. The sliding door opened again, and the lights in the main room went out, leaving only the moonlight to spill into the small courtyard. It cast her in silhouette, and Wyatt could only make out her shape. It wasn't until she stepped fully into the courtyard that he could see her clearly. She had pulled her long, dark hair into a messy bun. The two simple pieces of her swimsuit left little to the imagination now that her bulky winter clothes were gone. Her figure was laid bare before him. He stared up at her, speechless. Cece noticed his gaze fixed on her and pouted. "What are you looking at? You're so beautiful." In this setting, the words he'd said many times before felt exceptionally true. Every time he complimented her, Cece would act dismissive, but secretly, her heart soared. She stepped to the edge of the tub, dipping a small, delicate foot in to test the water before carefully descending the steps and sinking in. The tub was small, and as she settled across from him, her feet brushed against his. After all the times they'd shared a bed, this level of contact didn't faze her. She looked down at his feet in the water and wrinkled her nose. "Move your giant feet over there." Instead of complying, Wyatt deliberately pressed his foot against her leg. Cece balled her small fist and punched his shoulder playfully. He didn't flinch, but the moment she finished, he grabbed her wrist. With a gentle tug, he pulled her across the small tub and into his lap. She squirmed in protest, but Wyatt whispered sharply, "Don't move." His words worked. Cece went still. He sat behind her, wrapping his arms around her narrow waist and resting his chin on her smooth, delicate shoulder. His voice softened again. "Let me just hold you for a bit." She could smell the faint scent of alcohol on his breath. Even with the warmth of the water, she could feel the heat radiating from his body was even greater. Wyatt said nothing more. Cece didn't move. Time seemed to freeze until... "It's snowing," Cece whispered, looking up at the sky. The first snow of the year had finally begun to fall in the city. At first, it was just a few stray flakes, but within 10 minutes, thick, visible snowflakes were drifting down from the sky. When Wyatt didn't respond, Cece turned to look at him. She found the scoundrel wasn't looking at the sky at all. He was staring down at her. Cece shivered and was about to say something when Wyatt pulled her close, his lips meeting hers in a rough, desperate kiss. Her hands immediately pressed against his chest, but after a few seconds, they slowly relaxed and fell away. Have you kissed me enough? Not even close. I can't breathe. Tonight, he murmured against her lips, I'm going to kiss you 1,000 times. The snow fell intermittently through the night. By morning, a thin layer of white covered the eaves of the resort. Outside the sliding glass door was a deep winter scene. Inside, however, was the warmth of spring. Cece had slept with her head on Wyatt's shoulder. Perhaps because the heat in the room was turned up so high, a faint blush still lingered on her cheeks. Wyatt pulled the comforter tighter, one arm still around her, the other fumbling for his watch on the nightstand. He glanced at the time. They needed to leave for Riverwood around noon. As much as he hated to, he called her name softly. "Cece." She mumbled a sleepy, coquettish and snuggled closer. Wyatt sighed, defeated. He grabbed his phone and sent a text to Leo. "Hey, might be running a little late." Then he sent one to Chris. "After you guys check out, can you arrange a car to take everyone home? Let them know to send a message in the company group chat when they get back safely." Leo replied almost instantly. Chris, however, didn't. He was probably still sleeping it off after all the drinking he'd done after Wyatt left. Putting his phone down, Wyatt drifted back to sleep. When he opened his eyes again, it was already 9:30. He carefully slipped out of bed, tucked the covers around Cece, and bent down to pick up his discarded pajamas from the floor. He spent 5 minutes in the bathroom, then quickly packed their luggage. Finally, he returned to the bedside, placing his hand on her forehead. "It's almost 10, he said softly. "Time to get up." Cece pouted, mumbling something incoherent. "Don't wanna. Come on. If we don't get back to Riverwood tonight, your mom will worry." That did the trick. Cece's eyes fluttered open. She yawned and sat up, the comforter slipping down. She quickly clutched it to her chest and pointed her bag. "My clothes are in there. Can you get them for me?" Wyatt walked over and found a set of light blue lingerie, handing it to her. Cece dressed under the covers before finally getting out of bed. As she put on her outerwear and got ready, Wyatt finished packing everything else. They had breakfast at the hotel, said goodbye to a few of their colleagues, and then Wyatt drove with Cece back into the city to pick up Leo. Wyatt immediately handed the driver's duty over to him. "I was up late last night," he said, by way of explanation. "I need to catch some sleep." Leo sized them both up, shot Wyatt a knowing look, and slid into the driver's seat. He set up the GPS on his phone and started the long drive back to Riverwood. The traffic wasn't too bad, only adding about half an hour to their estimated travel time. They left New York around 11:30 in the morning, stopped at 3 rest stops along the way, and after more than 8 hours on the road, with Wyatt and Leo taking turns driving, they finally pulled up to Leo's house just before 9 at night. "All right, I'm out," Leo said, grabbing his suitcase from the trunk. "See ya." Wyatt got back behind the wheel and drove Cece toward Maple Creek Estates. On the way, Cece had texted Miranda to let her know they were close. When Wyatt pulled up, his de facto mother-in-law was already waiting by the door. "What time did you guys leave this morning? What took you so long?" Cece looked down, too guilty to answer. Wyatt quickly jumped in. My fault. I had a few drinks at the company party last night, so we got a late start today. Are you hungry? I can make you two some dumplings." Wyatt shook his head. "We grabbed some ramen at a rest stop about an hour ago." "Aunt Miranda, it's so late. I won't come in. I'll come by tomorrow. All right, drive safe. Don't worry. Wyatt turned the car around and headed back to his own neighborhood. A few more of the streetlights were out. The property management company had been useless for years. He trudged up the dark stairs, pulled out his key, and unlocked the door. In the living room, his parents, David and Sarah, stared at him blankly. Wyatt set his suitcase by the door and tossed his keys onto the shoe cabinet. I told you I'd probably be home in the next couple of days, right? He asked, frowning. Why are you looking at me like that? The two of them snapped out of it. David quickly turned off the TV, and Sarah walked over. Son, are you hungry? On the way back. I'm going to take a shower first. The clothes in the plastic bag in my suitcase are dirty. The rest are clean. Wyatt yawned and disappeared into the bathroom. When he came out, he went straight to his room. About 5 minutes later, Sarah brought a glass of warm milk in, intending to give it to him, but she saw he was already fast asleep. She quietly backed out of the room. Sarah washed the dirty clothes that night and hung them to dry. The next day, she was up early preparing a lavish breakfast. It was the 29th of January, only 9 days until the new year. A heavy snow had fallen in Riverwood last week, and the past few days had been cloudy and breezy, with the temperature never climbing above 40 degrees. At the office, the heat was always on, but at home, they rarely used the AC for heating, and most of the old units didn't have a heating function anyway. The only real source of warmth was the electric space heater you could find in almost any southern home. Wyatt spent the entire day parked in front of it, barely moving except to eat or use the bathroom. People from the company were gradually heading back to their hometowns. Sam, who lived the farthest away, didn't arrive until after 4 in the afternoon on the 29th. Wyatt chatted with him for a bit, then noticed the sky turning gray again. He slipped on his shoes. Mom, I'm heading out. I won't be back for dinner. There are so many leftovers from lunch. Where are you going? David chimed in with a sly grin. Where else? His girlfriend's house, of course. Wyatt grinned back. He's right. I'm going to try and bring Cece over for New Year's Eve dinner this year. Hearing this, Sarah was instantly supportive. She even went in her room and came back with several pairs of thick, hand-knitted slippers she'd made herself. She put them in a bag and handed it to Wyatt. I made these myself. They're much warmer than the ones you buy at the store. Take them to your girlfriend's family. Thanks, Mom. Wyatt quickly drove to Maple Creek Estates, rang the doorbell, and waited, rubbing his hands together in the cold. Inside, besides Miranda and Cece, Charles was also there. He had come over that morning and hadn't left all day. When the doorbell rang, Cece shot up from the sofa and hurried out of the living room. They rarely had guests, so she knew it had to be Wyatt. Charles took a moment to react. Seeing his daughter dash out, he pointed toward the door and looked at Miranda. Was she this excited when I got here? Miranda just chuckled. In your dreams. Cece returned with Wyatt in tow, leading him into the living room. The first floor had heated flooring, making it a different world compared to the freezing temperatures outside. Wyatt hung his down jacket on the coat rack by the door. It's so much warmer in your house, he remarked. Miranda saw the bag in Wyatt's hand and smiled. Wyatt, what did you bring? Oh, these are some slippers my mom knitted herself. And on the way over, I saw a guy selling candied chestnuts, so I bought some. They're still warm. Wyatt walked over and placed both items on the coffee table. Miranda picked up a pair of the slippers to inspect them. Your mom is very talented, she said with a smile. There were 4 pairs in the bag, all a general size, 2 larger, 2 smaller. Wyatt sat down on the sofa and started peeling one of the chestnuts he'd bought, handing it to Cece. Is it sweet? Sweet. You little punk, showing off with my daughter right in front of me. Charles sat nearby, watching the expression on his daughter's face, his internal jealousy meter clanging loudly. Wyatt quickly peeled a second chestnut and held it out to Miranda's lips. And Miranda, you try one too. Without hesitation, Miranda opened her mouth and ate it. Crash. The jealousy meter shattered. Charles was practically grinding his teeth in frustration. If any other man had hand-fed Miranda, he probably would have thrown a punch. But this was Wyatt, and Charles was powerless against him. Wyatt seemed to sense Charles's hostility. He intentionally glanced over at him, a faint smile on his face, his eyes seeming to say, watch and learn, old man. Wyatt, are you staying for dinner? Miranda asked. Yep, I have my car, so it's fine if I head home a little later. Miranda slipped on a pair of the slippers Wyatt had brought. They were indeed much warmer than the ones she had. She told Cece to put on a pair too, then stood up and headed for the kitchen. Wyatt followed her to the doorway. Hey Miranda, can I help? No need. Wyatt turned and looked back at Charles, who stared back, confused. Cece sighed. Dad, Wyatt is telling you to go help in the kitchen. It finally clicked for Charles. He scurried into the kitchen, but a troubling thought hit him. How far have they gone? They could understand each other with just a look. With Miranda and Charles in the kitchen, only Wyatt and Cece were left in the living room. Wyatt leaned in and whispered teasingly, "Quick, let me steal a kiss." Cece glanced toward the kitchen. For once, she didn't refuse. Wyatt leaned in and pecked her on the lips. "How come you didn't pull away?" he asked, genuinely curious. "If I did, would you have stopped?" she whispered back. "Not a chance." Wyatt laughed. "I checked the weather for the next few days. It's supposed to be cloudy tomorrow, then clear up, and then snow the day after. You want to go up to the Poconos for a couple of days? It's beautiful up there right now." Of course, Cece wanted to go, but she was too shy to ask Miranda herself. "You ask my mom," she whispered. "Deal," Wyatt nodded. "I'll ask her after your dad leaves." As they were whispering on the sofa, Wyatt's phone buzzed several times. He pulled it out and saw a string of frantic messages from Xiao. "Bro, emergency. Need help. Isabelle sent me 2 selfies that are almost identical and asked which one is prettier. I already said they're both great, but she insists I pick the better one. I feel like this is a trap. What do I say?" Wyatt glanced at the messages. Cece, seeing it was about Isabelle, leaned her head over curiously. Wyatt quickly typed a reply. "Easy. Save both pictures and go into your photo gallery to check the detailed info for each file. Usually, the edited photo takes up more memory. Then you can say, most people would probably think the edited one is better, but I think the unedited one is amazing too. And don't forget to add, but honestly, as long as it's you, I love any picture." Michael's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw Wyatt's message. He was so impressed, he almost applauded. He followed Wyatt's instructions, sent his reply to Isabelle, and she quickly responded. "Isabelle, well, listen to you. Where did all this smooth talk come from?" "Michael, it's all true." "Isabelle, I don't know if I believe you." "Michael, can't we have a little trust between us?" Isabelle didn't reply to that message right away. Instead, she opened her chat with Wyatt and sent a voice message. "Wyatt, let me ask you something. Did that guy Michael just message you?" Wyatt lied without blinking. "Nope. What's up?" "Isabelle, nothing. He's just suddenly being super sweet with his words. I was afraid you were his behind-the-scenes coach." Wyatt, "Oh, I forgot to tell you something." "Isabelle, what?" Wyatt, "Michael's mom gave him a deadline. His parents want to meet your parents by the end of next year. So, pace yourself accordingly." Isabelle, "Okay, got it." After the quick chat, Isabelle finally replied to Michael. "Isabelle, are you on break from work?" Michael, "Yeah." "Isabelle, come pick me up tomorrow. I want to go shopping." Michael, "Okay." Isabelle, "You didn't even ask if I meant morning or afternoon." Michael, "So, morning or afternoon?" Isabelle, "Afternoon." Michael, "You got it." Isabelle, "You're such a dork." "Dinner's ready. Coming." Wyatt stood up, pulling Cece with him to the dining table. The 3 of them started eating and chatting. Charles desperately wanted to join the conversation, but couldn't find an opening. When there was a lull, he finally put on his head of the household air and asked, "Wyatt, how did your company do in the second half of the year?" "Not bad," Wyatt said. "We didn't invest in many new projects, but the ones we have are trending well. The money from the movie investment came through, and the gaming company gave us a dividend of a few million, just as a token. By the end of this year—" "No, wait, I guess it's already this year now. By the end of this year, I expect the company to take a big step forward. How about you, Uncle?" Charles shoveled some rice into his mouth, trying to look nonchalant. Same old, same old." Miranda and Cece exchanged a look, barely suppressing their laughter. After dinner, Charles didn't stay long. The moment he was out the door, Wyatt told Miranda about his plan to take Cece to the Poconos for a couple of days. Miranda readily agreed. While Miranda was cleaning up in the kitchen, Cece pulled Wyatt upstairs to her room. They flopped onto her bed, scrolling through hotels in the Poconos on their phones. "How about this one?" "It's okay." "This one? Meh. What kind of hotel are you looking for?" Wyatt grinned slyly. "I'm still trying to find one with a hot tub." The memory of the other night flashed through Cece's mind, and her face turned bright red. "You creep." "I'll come pick you up tomorrow morning then," Wyatt said. "We don't have much time before the new year, so we can stay on the mountain for 3 days at most. It's cold up there, so wear extra layers. Just bring one change of clothes for inside. That's enough. We're taking the gondola up, so we don't want to be lugging a bunch of luggage." "Okay." After he finished giving instructions, Wyatt started booking the hotel on his phone. Once that was done, he looked up travel guides for the season and began planning their itinerary. Cece lay beside him, watching. The time slipped by, and soon it was past 7 o'clock. In the summer, the sun might still be out, but in winter, it was dark by 5. By 7, the streets were deserted. Cece noticed the time and poked Wyatt's arm. "It's getting late. Aren't you going home?" Wyatt propped his head up on his hand. "Are you kicking me out?" "No. I'm just reminding you, okay?" Wyatt rolled onto his back and lay flat on the bed, a grin spreading across his face. Then I'm not leaving tonight. I'm guessing your mom won't kick me out either. Same rules as always. You sleep on this side, I'll sleep on this side. No. Cece shot up and started pushing him. Get up now. No. Come on. Not gonna. He deliberately mimicked the stubborn tone she used to use. Seeing that force wasn't working, Cece changed tactics. She leaned over and planted a quick kiss on his cheek. Wyatt hadn't seen that move coming. He sat up, feigning ignorance. What was that for? Cece slapped him on the back, her face flushed with a mix of embarrassment and annoyance. If you don't stop messing around, I'm texting your mom. All right. Seeing as you're being so reasonable, I'll head out. Wyatt finally stood up. He turned back to her. Get some sleep. I'll be here tomorrow morning to pick you up. I know. Wyatt reached out and pinched her cheek gently before leaving the room with a smile. Downstairs, he saw Miranda on the phone with Elaine. He made a gesture to signal he was leaving, and when Miranda nodded, he quietly let himself out of the house. Back at home, David and Sarah were still awake. Seeing their son walk in with a big grin, they exchanged a look. Sarah nudged David, who then asked, "What are you so happy about?" "Nothing," Wyatt said. "Oh, right. I'm going to the Poconos with Cece for a few days, starting tomorrow. Just giving you a heads up." David frowned. "It's almost New Year's, and you're going on a trip? Did her mother agree to this?" "Of course. What about New Year's Eve dinner?" "Don't worry. I talked to my mother-in-law about it a while ago. It's basically all set." Sarah, having been through it all, knew that when you're in love, your significant other is the only thing that matters. She just offered a simple reminder. "It's cold up on the mountain. Wear warm clothes." "I know. Do you need some money?" "I've got money." Wyatt washed his face in the bathroom, then brought a basin of hot water to the sofa to soak his feet. Just then, a message from Leo popped up. "Leo, I'm so bored at home. I'm coming to hang out with you tomorrow." "Wyatt, I'm busy, loser." "Leo, it's break. What could you possibly be busy with?" "Wyatt, I'm going to the Poconos for a few days." "Leo, take me with you." "Leo, I have nothing to do at home." "Wyatt, get lost." "Leo, you son of a bitch. Chicks before dicks, huh?" "Wyatt, you're just now figuring that out." "Leo, you're not even human." After soaking his feet, Wyatt was about to head to bed when Sarah, as if possessed, asked, "How did you do on your final exams this semester?" At that, Wyatt's energy surged. "Mom, if you're asking about that, then I have a couple of things to show you." He pulled out his phone and showed his parents a screenshot of his grades. They huddled around the phone, reading the scores aloud. Monetary Economics, 88. Statistics, 80. Intro to Accounting, 85. Financial Statement Analysis, 82. Financial Data and Analytics. Every single one of his final exam scores was above an 80. Although his advisor hadn't said anything, Wyatt guessed someone had gone over his answer sheet, maybe even filled in the essay questions he'd left blank. There was no other way he could have scored that high. Is this real?" David asked, his face a mask of disbelief. "Of course it's real." Wyatt went to his room and pulled the Student Excellence Award certificate from his bag, handing it to his father. "Look at this. This can't be fake, right?" David quickly opened it and scanned the contents. He and Sarah were too stunned to speak. "David, yeah, next time we visit your parents' graves, you better say an extra prayer of thanks." "You're telling me?" The next day, Wyatt left home before 8 in the morning and drove to Maple Creek Estates. After picking up Cece, he set the GPS for the Poconos. They took a 10-minute shuttle to the ticket station, then another 10 minutes on the gondola up the mountain. As soon as they stepped out, the hotel shuttle was waiting. They dropped some of their luggage at the hotel and started walking around the main street of the mountain village. In winter, the mountain was a blanket of white. In the distance, uniquely styled houses were scattered across the snowy landscape like colorful jewels on a canvas of milky jade. The scenery was breathtaking. Cece, who rarely took pictures, was snapping photos with her phone. "Why don't you take any of me?" Wyatt teased. "What's there to take a picture of?" she retorted playfully. Wyatt grabbed her and pulled her into his arms, threatening in a mock-serious tone. "I'm telling you, there's no one here to back you up now. If you don't listen to me, I'll have to resort to family discipline." Fine. Go stand over there. I'll take a few pictures of you. Let's take one together." Wyatt snatched the phone from her hand, switched to the front-facing camera, and held it up high, angling for the perfect shot. "Smile," he instructed. "I am smiling. A happier smile." Cece pouted, feigning unhappiness. Seeing this, Wyatt, whose hand was resting on her shoulder, suddenly plunged it into her armpit. He barely moved, but Cece instantly broke, laughing out loud. Wyatt snapped several pictures before stopping. Cece quickly grabbed the phone back to check the photos. She'd expected a gallery of ugly, candid shots, but to her surprise, all of them looked great. So, my photography skills aren't bad, right? They're okay, I guess. Let's find a place to eat first, then we can really explore this afternoon. I want something with soup. Okay, whatever you want. Are you sure you'll do whatever I want? During the day, yes. At night, no. Get lost. Eat. That afternoon, Wyatt and Cece took the sightseeing bus, first visiting a serene lake, then a picturesque valley. The mountains and water were already beautiful on their own, but adorned with snow, the scenery was like something out of a fairy tale. After dark, they took the bus back to the hotel. They ordered dinner to the room, and perhaps because they were so tired, they went to bed early. The next day, before the sun was up, the alarm on Wyatt's phone blared. He turned it off, and Cece emerged from under the covers. She leaned against him, her eyes still heavy with sleep. Do we have to get up? Yeah, we said we were going to see the sunrise today. Cece hugged him tightly and whispered, but I don't want to get up. Come on, be good. Wyatt stretched, fumbled for the lamp switch on the nightstand, and got dressed. Seeing that Cece was still refusing to move, he pulled back the covers and lifted her right out of the bed. Cece wrapped her arms around his neck, her head resting on his shoulder. She whined and pleaded for a while before finally getting dressed and joining Wyatt in the bathroom. It was only 4:30 when they left the hotel, but the path wasn't empty. A few other small groups of young people were also heading to the scenic overlook to watch the sunrise. By the time Wyatt and Cece reached their destination, the sun was just peeking over a distant mountain peak. The surrounding mountaintops were still shrouded in thick fog. As the sun slowly rose, it painted not only the clouds, but also the distant fog a brilliant red. The sun itself looked like a molten ball of iron that had burned a hole in the sky. Wyatt pulled out his phone, turned around with Cece, found the perfect angle, and captured the moment in his phone's gallery. Want me to take one of just you? Okay. Wyatt stepped back, holding the phone. Put your hand out like this. A little higher. Too much, a little lower. Okay, don't move. He quickly snapped a picture, then walked over and showed her the phone. What do you think? Cece took the phone and saw the photo. In it, her hand was perfectly positioned to look like she was holding up the sun. She finally understood why he'd been so particular about adjusting her hand. After taking a few more pictures of the sunrise, they stood there for a long time, just watching, until the sky had fully brightened. The next day, they went to many places. They visited a botanical garden, climbed a 5-peak mountain, and in the afternoon, even made a trip to a famous waterfall. In the evening, on their way back, Wyatt and Cece were drawn to a small art stall. The artist was a young woman, probably around their age, wearing a fluffy hat and a long down coat. On the ground were dozens of her works, portraits of people, but all drawn in a cute animated style. Wyatt saw Cece looking at the drawings and asked, $20 isn't too expensive. Want to get one done? As a souvenir. Cece nodded immediately. They walked hand in hand toward the stall. The artist saw them coming and broke into a sweet smile. Hi, Wyatt said with a smile of his own. How long does it take to draw one? About 5 minutes. Could you draw one of my girlfriend then? Before Wyatt could finish, Cece interrupted. Can you draw both of us together? Of course. Just give me a moment. The artist rubbed her small hands together, set up 2 small, folding chairs for them, and then deftly prepared her paints. While they waited, Wyatt struck up a conversation. Are you here on vacation? Nope. The artist shook her head, smiling. My family lives at the foot of the mountain. Every year during winter break, I come up here to draw for people just to earn some spending money. You're still in school, right? Yeah, a senior. A lot of my classmates are already doing internships. The artist taped a piece of paper to her easel and directed them to sit closer together. She was clearly skilled. With just a few strokes, the images of 2 people appeared on the blank paper. Though the style was cartoonish, the features were distinct. Even a stranger could tell who the drawing was of. So how come you're not doing an internship? Can't find a suitable job. I'm an art major, so finding work is really hard. Plus, my parents don't want me to be too far from home. Wyatt just smiled and didn't press further. After sketching the outlines, the artist began to add color. The whole process took about 7 or 8 minutes. Here you go, she said, turning the finished drawing around for them to see. Wyatt burst out laughing at the sight of his cartoon self. For once, Cece laughed out loud too, a series of happy giggles. After Wyatt paid, they took the sightseeing bus back to the hotel. Dork, what? Let's use this drawing as our profile picture. Isn't it a little childish? I don't care. If I change mine, you have to change yours. You're so bossy, Wyatt laughed. Cece ignored him. She placed the drawing on the coffee table, took a clearer picture of it with her phone, and set it as her own profile picture. Then she walked over to Wyatt, snatched his phone from his pocket, expertly unlocked it, and changed his profile picture to the same drawing. Next, She selected 9 of the photos she'd taken that day and posted them to her social media. The cartoon drawing was in the center, surrounded by 8 scenic shots. Her 3 bored roommates were quick to like and comment. Isabelle, can't you even stop at the PDA during vacation? Sophie, the scenery is so beautiful. Where did Wyatt take you this time? Ashley, if you keep this up, I'm going to have to block you. Cece laughed happily at her friend's comments. After they had rested in the hotel room for about 20 minutes, Wyatt stood up. Come on, let's go find a restaurant for dinner. Okay. Wyatt grabbed the room key, and Cece stood up, taking his hand. They left the hotel and had been walking down the main village street for less than 5 minutes when they saw the artist from earlier walking toward them. It's you, the girl said, greeting them with a friendly wave. Do you live on a mountain at night, too? Cece asked. Yeah, there are a lot of tourists on the mountain during this time, so I stay at the end my aunt runs. Oh, I see. Wyatt saw an opportunity. Since you must know this place really well, how about you recommend a place for us to eat? Sure, follow me, the girl said enthusiastically. My name's Wyatt, and this is my girlfriend, Cece. We're from Riverwood, too. I'm Tanya Yuan. The 3 of them chatted as they walked for about 10 minutes until Tanya led them to a local restaurant. She pointed to a QR code on the table. You can scan this to order. I highly recommend their stone pot fish. And if you can handle spicy, the sour and spicy chicken gizzards are also really good. Why don't you eat with us? My treat, Wyatt offered. Well, it's okay, Cece added. Join us. I really love the drawing you did. Well, in that case, don't mind if I do. The 3 of them sat down. Wyatt scanned the code and ordered 4 dishes, the 2 Tanya had recommended, plus a sizzling plate of potatoes and a local green vegetable. Before long, the owner brought their food to the table. Smells so good. Go ahead, eat. Don't be shy. You 2 are in college, right? Tanya asked. Yeah, in New York City. I'm an art major, too. My boyfriend studies finance. Are you at the music conservatory or the drama school? The conservatory. I have a friend at your school, too. She's also stressing about finding a job right now. I totally regret choosing the art school path. Cece had never had to worry about finding a job, so she didn't know how to respond. Tanya, however, seemed fixated on the topic. I found a pretty decent company on a job app yesterday, she said, mostly to herself. I have an interview scheduled for the 3rd. I don't know if I'll get it. There are so few job opportunities in Riverwood. Wyatt smiled. It's a small city, after all. What company are you interviewing with? Tanya replied, Vivien's Lingerie. You've probably never heard of it, right? Wyatt covered his mouth, nearly spraying a mouthful of rice across the table. The hand Cece was holding her chopsticks with froze in midair. This was too much of a coincidence. Tanya, oblivious, frowned. What's wrong? Cece was about to speak, but Wyatt quickly waved his hand, forcing a smile. Nothing, nothing. We've actually heard of that brand. It's pretty popular in Riverwood, right? Tanya said. The HR person told me they're about to launch a new brand, a high-end line. I'm applying for the designer's assistant position. Wyatt raised his drink. Well, here's to a successful interview, he said, toasting the middle of the table. I hope so. After dinner, Tanya went back to her aunt's inn. Wyatt and Cece walked along the main street for a while, and when the wind picked up, they headed back to the hotel. They had just gotten back to the room when Miranda called. While mother and daughter were talking, Wyatt went to the bathroom to take a shower. The weather had been exactly as Wyatt predicted. The day before was overcast, today was clearing up, and the forecast for tomorrow still called for snow. When Wyatt came out, Cece was off the phone. As the room's heating kicked in, she took off her thick-down jacket and tossed it on the sofa. Are we going down the mountain tomorrow evening or the morning after? Let's see how it goes, Wyatt said. We've seen a lot of scenery these past 2 days. Tomorrow, let's check out some of the cultural spots. If we finish early, we can head down in the evening. Oh, Cece secretly wanted to stay on the mountain for a couple more days. But she knew the new year was fast approaching and Wyatt probably had other things to do, so she didn't say anything. There would be plenty of opportunities like this in the future. Cece went to take a shower. When she came out, she had Wyatt dry her hair. It was just past 8 o'clock when they were both lying in bed. After the night of the company party, Cece had become the initiator when it came to sleeping. The moment Wyatt lay down, she would cling to him like an octopus. It couldn't be helped. In the winter, Wyatt was like a giant human-sized heating pad, and the closer she got, the warmer she felt. But, perhaps because she had walked so much today, Cece suddenly cried out in pain, her expression twisting. What's wrong? My foot is cramping. Wyatt switched on the lamp and sat up, holding her ankle. Where? Cece pointed her calf. The moment Wyatt put his hand there. Ow! Just bear with it for a second. Wyatt gently massaged the muscle for a while before asking, Better? MMM. In the dim light, their eyes met and held. Wyatt carefully set her leg down, then slowly leaned in. After countless intimate moments, Cece could now read his intentions in his eyes. So, as he moved closer, she closed her eyes and tilted her head up slightly. They kissed. Unconsciously, the buttons of her pajama top came undone, one by one. Wait. Go. Go get that thing from my bag. What thing? Hiss. Ow. Why did you bite me again? Just go. On their third day on a mountain, they woke up to a sudden, heavy snowstorm. After getting ready, Cece pulled back the curtains and stood at the window, watching the cotton-like flakes fall. Should we go out now, or wait for the snow to lighten up? Wyatt asked, having finished putting on his shoes. Let's go now. It was rare to see such heavy snow in the south, and it never fell this hard down in the valley. They left the hotel and followed their planned route, admiring the scenery along the way. It wasn't until evening, when the wind and snow finally died down, that they returned to the hotel to pack their things and take the gondola back down mountain. Wyatt drove Cece home first, then went back to his own house. After a long, comfortable hot shower, he flopped into bed and called Vivien. Vivien was on her way home from work. Seeing Wyatt's call, she answered on speakerphone. Well, hello. You finally remember to call me. I've only been home a few days. I took Cece to the Poconos for a couple of days, just got back tonight. Anyway, I did what you said. Everything's ready to go. The company's holiday break starts on the 5th. Do you want to come by the office before then? Wyatt thought for a moment. Sure. Tomorrow's the little new year. I'll come by the morning after. What day is that? The 3rd. Okay. I'll be at the office waiting for you. Talk to you then. Yep. Meanwhile, after Cece got home, the first thing she did was go upstairs for a shower. She changed into clean pajamas and collapsed on her bed. She had been up late the night before and had walked a long way today to make good time. By the time she got home, she was too tired to even speak. Less than 2 minutes after lying down, she was fast asleep. Miranda waited downstairs for a long time. When Cece didn't come down, she went upstairs and opened her daughter's door. Seeing Cece asleep, Miranda sighed, thinking this girl. She could have at least eaten something before sleeping. Miranda quietly closed the door and went into the bathroom to put Cece's dirty clothes in the washing machine. Worried she might have missed something, she tiptoed back into the room to check Cece's bag for any other laundry. There were no dirty clothes in the bag, but Miranda's eyes were quickly drawn to the open box of Trojans. She glanced back at her sleeping daughter, then tucked the box into an inner pocket of the bag before silently leaving the room. That evening, Charles sent Miranda a message. The content was simple. He wanted to come over for New Year's Eve dinner. Miranda didn't refuse, but simply replied, I already promised Wyatt he could bring Cece to his family's house for New Year's Eve dinner. Charles, what kind of magic potion did he give you that you just agreed to that? Charles, why? Miranda, why are you so worked up? Miranda, Wyatt already said they'll have dinner at his house before 9, and then come to our house after 9. What's the problem? Seeing Miranda say our house instead of my house, Charles's tone immediately softened. Isn't that a bit soon? Miranda, it's not too soon. Charles, how is that not soon? Miranda, I said it's not, so it's not. Miranda, I'm going to bed if there's nothing else. Charles, wait, we just started talking and you're going to sleep? At least explain it to me. Charles, hello? Miranda, Charles, you're going to be the death of me. January 2nd, the 24th day of the 12th lunar month, was the day for celebrating the little new year in the South. The house was lively from early in the morning, not because Wyatt was home, but because his aunt had brought Riley over. Sarah and her sister immediately started catching up on family gossip, with David chiming in from time to time. Wyatt was still fast asleep in bed. Riley, with nothing to do, kept tiptoeing into Wyatt's room. Seeing him asleep, she didn't dare wake him. She went in and out several times until the noise finally woke him up. Seeing Wyatt stir, Riley rushed over, a big smile revealing her 2 small canine teeth. Wyatt, my mom said we're celebrating the little new year at your house today. I know. Wyatt rubbed his temples and pulled his jacket on over his pajamas, noticing his pants had fallen on the floor. Hey, can you see where my pants went? Riley hurried to the other side of the bed and handed him his pants. After Wyatt got dressed, he came out, greeted his aunt, and, after washing up in the bathroom, sat down at the dining table, scrolling through his phone while he ate breakfast. Just like when they were kids, Riley hovered next to him like a little shadow, jumping in with questions whenever she saw an opening. Wyatt, and Sarah said you took Cece to the Poconos a few days ago. MMHMM. Was it fun? It was pretty fun. Was there a lot of snow on the mountain? MMHMM. I saw you and Cece both change your profile pictures. Where did you get that picture? Someone drew it. Oh, so. Stop. Wyatt shot Riley a look. Can you not chatter on and on all day? You sound just like my mom. The moment he said that, Sarah piped up from across the room. That's right. When he needs money from home, it doesn't mind my nagging. Now that his wings have grown, he complains about it. Susan, tell me, what's the point of having a son? Seeing his mom was about to launch into a full-blown tirade, Wyatt quickly raised his hands in surrender. Mom, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. It's so early in the morning and you're already being passive-aggressive. I've only been home for a few days. Are you trying to get frostbite? Go put some socks on. Let me finish eating first. At that, Sarah slapped David's thigh. David dutifully went to Wyatt's room, found a pair of thick socks, and handed them to Wyatt. At lunchtime, Wyatt's uncle also came over from the hospital for the meal, bringing a few boxes of health supplements. The whole family ate and chatted. In the middle of it all, at Sarah's prompting, her sister made a video call to their other sister, Sharon. The three sisters had a great time catching up. Halfway through their conversation, Mandy suddenly leaned into the frame, asking with a grin, Aunt Sarah, Aunt Susan, is my cousin Wyatt there? Nope, Wyatt said quickly. After Mandy went back home from her summer visit, she had started messaging Wyatt every few days. At first, it was about important things, but soon she was just using him as a sounding board, complaining about one thing or another. Wyatt had started ignoring her. Sarah slapped Wyatt on the back. Your cousin is looking for you. Talk to her for a few minutes. With that, she forced the phone into Wyatt's hand. Wyatt took the phone reluctantly. What do you want? Cousin, I'm probably coming to New York around the 20th of this month for my Juilliard audition. Got it. You'll pick me up from the station, right? We'll see. Then I'll just text my cousin-in-law and have her pick me up. Mandy, are you nuts? You promised you'd pick me up. Fine, fine. Just text me the day before. I knew you were the best, cousin. Ugh, you're so cringe. Wyatt quickly handed the phone back to his aunt. On the other end of the line, Sharon was surprised. Her daughter, who had always been a bit wild and hadn't spent much time with Wyatt growing up, had become so close to him after just a couple of weeks in the summer. But for Sharon, this was a good thing. Her biggest fear after marrying so far away was that her children would slowly lose touch with her side of the family. Vivien had been incredibly busy in the second half of the year. First, she was moving the company and expanding its operations. Then, a single phone call from Wyatt had her starting preparations for a whole new brand. In just 2 or 3 months, she had lost nearly 10 pounds, much to her family's distress. Hannah, can you confirm with HR again about the interview scheduled for tomorrow morning? Also, push the Fabric Factory to send us their quote. If they won't lower their price, just tell them we're not interested. We have other options. Okay. Also, we're too busy at the end of the year, so we won't have a company party. We'll consider it in the spring. Let everyone know that we'll be giving out holiday bonuses. For the factory workers, we'll give the bonus in 2 parts. Half at the end of the year, and the other half when they come back to work. Why? Wyatt said the factory workers are easy to poach. Giving them a bonus at the end of the year is to make them happy for the holidays. Giving them another bonus when they return is to make them think twice about job hopping. He's back in Riverwood. He is. He's coming to the office tomorrow. The company has changed so much. He's going to be shocked when he gets here. Vivien smiled. I wouldn't be so sure. The guy has seen the big leagues in New York now. Who would have thought when he was working here over the summer that he'd be this amazing? All right, enough gossiping. Get back to work. You got it. After handling the immediate tasks, Vivien, still uneasy, opened the design sketches Elaine had drawn on her computer. As someone who had also studied design, she knew these sketches were invaluable. That was why, even now, she hadn't shown them to anyone else in the company. She couldn't wait to see the market's reaction when these designs were turned into clothes, bearing her company's logo. That afternoon, Wyatt drove his cousin Riley and Cece around town. The snow from the day before had started to melt, making it feel even colder outside. The temperature was probably hovering right at freezing. The plan had been to go shopping, but aside from a quick trip into a mall to grab hot milk tea, they spent the rest of the time in the car. Around 3 or 4, Wyatt drove back to Maple Creek Estates. But before Cece got out of the car, Wyatt finally told her about his New Year's Eve dinner plan. He had expected her to be hesitant, but this time, she only paused for a moment before nodding in agreement. This caught Wyatt completely by surprise. He quickly turned to Riley in the back seat. Riley, close your eyes. Quick, close them. Okay. Riley obediently closed her eyes. Wyatt unbuckled his seatbelt and launched himself at Cece, peppering her face and lips with messy kisses. From the back seat, Riley peeked through her fingers, her face turning bright red. Tanya Yuan was a graduate of the Hubei Institute of Fine Arts, one of the 8 major art academies in the country. While the school wasn't world famous, Tanya's academic record was excellent. Around November, after 2 major job fairs were held on campus, her classmates began to find jobs one by one. The positions largely fell into 2 categories. One was in education, becoming art teachers or instructors at private art studios. The other was at advertising agencies, working as graphic designers. Only a very small group, those with powerful connections, could hope to enter the film and entertainment industry or even more prestigious cultural institutions. Tanya had no interest in teaching. She had interviewed with a few ad agencies, but the internship pay was pitifully low, and it was clear from the interviews that overtime was a constant expectation. So, even though she had received offers from 2 agencies, Tanya had turned them both down. It wasn't that she was aiming too high. One company was too far away, and the other paid too little. With the new year approaching and all her classmates having secured jobs, Tanya began to worry. After returning home, she scoured online job boards and finally found a local clothing company in Riverwood that was a decent match for her major. On the morning of the 3rd, Tanya had a quick breakfast and left home, catching a rideshare to the Riverwood Technology and Industry Park. She took the elevator to the 7th floor of Building A. As soon as she stepped out, she saw the impressive entrance and front desk of Vivien's lingerie. As she approached, the 2 glass doors slid open automatically, and the receptionist immediately came forward. "Hello, are you here for an interview?" "Yes, I am." "This way, please." The receptionist led her to the company's waiting area. Seeing 2 or 3 other people already waiting, Tanya's heart began to race. "Here is the application form. Please fill it out first. I'll come and get you when it's your turn for the interview." "Okay, thank you." Tanya focused on filling out the form. At close to 9 o'clock, the glass doors opened again. A young man who looked to be in his early 20s walked in. The other candidates instinctively looked up, assuming he was also there for an interview. But the receptionist who had led Tanya in earlier respectfully greeted him. "Mr. Wyatt, is the lady boss in?" Wyatt asked with a smile. These days, fewer than 5 people in the company still called Vivien Lady Boss. Most now called her Ms. "Hey." Hearing the familiar nickname, employees throughout the office turned to look. The company had hired many new people in the last 6 months, and not many recognized Wyatt. They started whispering among themselves. An older employee explained to the newcomers, "That's the other boss of the company. He and Ms. Pei started this company together." "What? He's so young." "What's wrong with being young? The guy's got money and talent." As the staff gossiped, the receptionist led Wyatt toward Vivien's office. Tanya, hearing the commotion, glanced up and caught a glimpse of Wyatt's back before lowering her head to continue filling out her form. Wyatt pushed open the office door and walked in. "Hello, lady boss." Hearing his voice, Vivien stopped what she was doing. She picked up her thermos and smiled. "Well, look who's here so early." "Hey there, handsome." "The company's gotten a lot bigger. I had no choice," Vivien explained, taking a sip of hot water. "After the influencer marketing took off, our brand became a viral hit online. Sales kept climbing, and we couldn't keep up without hiring more people." "How are the preparations for the new brand coming along?" "Stuck on the first step. All those brand names I told you about were already registered." "You're here just in time. Help me think of a name." Wyatt casually poured himself a cup of hot water and sat down. "That's easy. Let's take the initials of Vivien's lingerie, VL. We can see what English words we can expand that into. For promotion, we'll just use VL. It's like how BYD just registered a random trademark and then came up with Build Your Dreams later." Vivien's eyes lit up. She had been wrestling with this problem for ages, trying to find a name that sounded high-end but was still connected to the original brand. The few good ones she'd thought of were already taken. Wyatt had just solved her problem. Vivien rubbed her forehead and sighed. "I should have just asked you sooner. How are the rest of the preparations?" "I've rented another factory space and bought a lot of advanced equipment. For the workers, I'm planning to transfer a group of our most skilled people from the original factory." "Good," Wyatt nodded. "If we're going for high-end line, we should use the best of everything. I'll keep an eye on that." The biggest problem now is that the factory will need to communicate with the designer in the early stages. "Can you—" Before Vivien could finish, Wyatt cut her off. "No problem. You can assign someone here to compile all the factory's questions, and I'll ask Elaine. I've already talked to her about it. If she's such good friend with your mother-in-law, why can't we just invite her to Riverwood? She just had surgery before the holidays and is recovering at home. She wasn't even planning on being a guest designer for us. I had to talk her into it." Vivien smiled. "Don't try to take all the credit. The factory is partly yours, too. This is all part of your job." "Huh." Just then, Hannah walked in. Seeing Wyatt, she greeted him first, then turned to Vivien. "Lady boss, we can start the interviews." Vivien nodded, stood up, and looked at Wyatt. "Come on, be an interviewer with me." "No way. I'll just wait for you in the office." Vivien ignored him. It was rare for Wyatt to visit, and she was going to make the most of it. She grabbed his wrist and dragged him out of the office. In the conference room, The HR manager and the head of recruitment were already waiting. After Vivien and Wyatt sat down, the first candidate was brought in. Please have a seat. Could you start with a brief self-introduction? Of course. Hello, interviewers. My name is... The interviews went smoothly. Wyatt barely said a word. At the end of each one, the HR manager would ask, Ms. Hey, Mr. Wyatt, do you have any other questions? Wyatt would just shake his head. Candidates came and went. Soon, a familiar figure walked in. The moment she appeared in the conference room, a smile involuntarily spread across Wyatt's face. Tanya nervously walked forward and looked up at the four interviewers. When her eyes landed on Wyatt, they went wide with disbelief. It's you. With the new year approaching, Isabelle's parents had returned to New York from Australia. Working in Australia was far less stressful than in their home country. By law, the work week was capped at 38 hours. Perhaps because of the lower stress, both her father, Arthur Zhang, and her mother, Teresa, looked younger than their actual ages. Since their daughter had started college, they only saw her a few times a year. So, during the winter break, Isabelle was showered with affection, living a life that could be described as having everything done for her. Dad, Mom, I'm heading out. Don't wait for me for lunch. Isabelle, having slept in until 9 or 10, came downstairs, grabbed her purse, and rushed toward the door. Aren't you going to eat something? I'll eat out. Before Teresa could say another word, Isabelle was gone. Arthur, sitting on the sofa, looked puzzled. What's up with your daughter? You're asking me? The day before yesterday, she came back at 6. Yesterday, it was after 7. Didn't she say all her college roommates were from out of state? She did. So if she's going out. Arthur trailed off, his eyes widening. Don't tell me our daughter is dating someone. Teresa paused, then slowly nodded. It's possible. When she gets back this afternoon, you need to ask her. Why don't you ask her? This is the kind of thing that's more appropriate for you to ask. Teresa saw right through her husband. You're just scared to ask, aren't you? She said with a smile. Arthur huffed. She's only a sophomore. What is she doing dating? I'm telling you right now. If she brings home some good-for-nothing, I won't approve. My daughter is so beautiful. She could have any boyfriend she wants. Teresa, where did you go? Morning. Isabelle chirped sweetly as she hopped into the passenger seat. Michael handed her a thermos. My mom made these pan-fried buns. She wanted me to bring them to you. Isabelle took the container, opened it, and smiled. Your mom made these? Yeah, try one. They should still be warm. Isabelle picked one up with the provided chopsticks. How is it? Michael asked immediately. Delicious. Then you eat first. We'll leave after you're done. Where are we going today? I don't know. Is there anywhere you want to go? Isabelle shook her head. Michael joked. If you don't have anywhere in mind, want to come to my house? My dad and my uncle went to see a friend today. It's just my mom and the housekeeper at home. He never expected her to agree, so he watched her expression closely, ready to change the subject if she hesitated. But Isabelle, remembering what Wyatt had told her, didn't refuse this time. Instead, she asked demurely, is that okay? Holy crap, there's a chance. Of course it's okay, Michael said quickly. You've met my mom before. She's really easygoing. If you don't want to stay for lunch, just give me a look. Isabelle considered it for a moment, then finally nodded. Okay then. Seeing her nod, Michael was so happy he wanted to high-five someone. While Isabelle was still eating, he texted his mother, Susan. Mom, I'm bringing Isabelle home in a bit. Don't be too nosy, okay? It took a lot to get her to agree. Meanwhile, Susan, who had been sitting at home with nothing to do, jumped up the moment she saw the message. Maria, check how much fruit we have left in the fridge. We have a guest coming over soon. Ma'am, how many people are coming? Just one. Then we should have enough. It's my future daughter-in-law. Make a few extra dishes for lunch. Make it a big spread. If we don't have enough ingredients, call Khloe and have him drive you to the store. Seeing how much this meant to Susan, the housekeeper immediately started preparing. Half an hour later, Michael drove into the exclusive Thompson Golf Villas community in Pudong. While not as prime as the Riverside Thompson Riviera, these were single-family homes with private yards. The community itself was beautiful, with vast green spaces and over 30,000 rare and valuable trees planted throughout. Fortunately, Isabelle was mentally prepared, so she was only a little nervous. As the car pulled into the driveway of one of the villas, Susan, hearing the sound, came out to greet them. The moment Isabelle got out of the car, Susan took her hand warmly and led her into the living room. The living room was huge, with a soaring double-height ceiling and lavish furniture. Susan had Isabelle sit on the sofa and began fussing over her, asking if she was warm enough and if she had eaten. Michael sat beside them, a look of helpless resignation on his face. Mom, I told you not to be nosy. Please just say a few words less. Isabelle, however, answered every question like a good little girl. Since it was already almost 10 when they left, Isabelle hadn't been sitting for long before the kitchen staff started preparing lunch. Naturally, Susan insisted she stay. After lunch, around 1 o'clock, Isabelle finally gave Michael a look. He understood, quickly made an excuse, and they left the house. Wyatt had said if there's a first time, there'll be a second and a third, and so on. Michael was already thrilled that Isabelle had been willing to come to his house today. That afternoon, they went to see a movie. Around 4:30, Michael drove Isabelle home. Just as they were saying goodbye, and Isabelle was about to get out of the car, her mother, Teresa, suddenly appeared in front of the car. One hand was holding a trash can, the other was on her hip, a teasing smile on her face as she looked at the two of them in the car. Michael instinctively honked the horn. Isabelle immediately punched him. "Are you crazy? That's my mom." "Mom, your mom." Michael was dumbfounded. He stared for a full 30 seconds before hastily unbuckling his seatbelt. He got out of the car, bowed slightly, and said awkwardly, "Hello, Aunt?" Teresa looked Michael up and down, then glanced at Isabelle. She feigned ignorance. "Who's this?" Isabelle went to her mother's side and linked her arm through hers, whining playfully. "Oh, come on, you saw. Why are you asking? How long have you been dating?" 6 months. "Why didn't you tell me?" Teresa huffed, then looked at Michael. "Park the car here and come inside for a bit." Michael glanced at Isabelle, then quickly agreed. Inside the house. "What took you so long to take out the trash?" Arthur complained. Teresa smiled. "Guess who I brought back with me?" When Arthur saw Isabelle and Michael walking together behind her, he seemed to guess what was happening. His blood pressure started to rise. "Hello, Uncle. My name is Michael Xiao. I'm Isabelle's boyfriend." Arthur pointed to a seat next to him, forcing a smile that looked more painful than a grimace. "Sit." "Okay." Arthur tried to signal his daughter with his eyes for a while, but when she didn't respond, he awkwardly asked Michael, "How old are you?" 24, turning 25. "Where do you work?" "I work at an investment firm." "Oh." After that, a brief, awkward silence fell over the living room. Fortunately, Teresa came over with 2 glasses of water. Arthur took one, crossed his legs, put on a parental air, and asked, "Any siblings?" "I'm an only child." Another silence. Then Arthur suddenly asked, "So, have you been married before?" Pfft. Michael sprayed a mouthful of water. He looked at Arthur, then at Teresa and Isabelle, his expression one of pure, innocent confusion. "Dad!" Isabelle exclaimed, rolling her eyes. "Are you serious?" Arthur knew he'd misspoken, but seeing his own daughter get an attitude with him, he just turned away with his glass of water, pouting like a child. Michael awkwardly grabbed a couple of tissues to wipe up the water on the floor, looking helplessly at Isabelle, completely unsure of what to say. Thankfully, Teresa stepped in to smooth things over. She sat down next to Arthur and continued the conversation. "Are you local?" "Yes, my dad is from here, and my mom is from Sichuan. I have my own place in the city. It's not that I look down on people from out of town," Teresa said. "It's just that Isabelle is our only daughter. I don't want her to end up too far away from us. You know what I mean?" Michael finally breathed a sigh of relief and nodded with a smile. "What do your parents do?" "My dad retired a long time ago, and my mom has never really worked." Arthur, having worked abroad for years, might not have known his daughter well, but Teresa had spent more time with her. She could see things in her daughter's interactions with Michael that Arthur couldn't. The subconscious glances they exchanged, the subtle tension in her daughter when she was being questioned. It all told her that their relationship was already very serious. Teresa knew her daughter had high standards, so Michael must have already passed the test in terms of character and demeanor. From his clothes and the way he spoke, it was clear his family was well off. But this was about marriage, about her daughter's happiness for the next few decades. She had to be sure. "You said you work at an investment firm. What are your plans for the future?" "Well," Michael scratched his head, unsure how to answer. Arthur couldn't take it anymore. He turned back, his tone disapproving. "You're 24, 25 years old. You don't have any plan for your life." It really wasn't Michael's fault. The path of his career had already been paved for him. He had no other options. He could only answer honestly. My uncle is the owner of Apex Capital. I'm a department head at his company now. So, in terms of work, I don't really have any other choice." Seeing Arthur and Teresa fall silent, Michael quickly added the one thing he said all day that made Isabelle truly satisfied. "But life is definitely more important than work. Uncle, Andy, don't worry. No matter how busy I get in the future, I will always make time for Isabelle." Arthur cleared his throat and blurted out, "Good, that's good." Teresa, noticing Michael's empty glass, smiled and asked, "Would you like some more water?" "No, thank you, I'm not thirsty." Isabelle finally stood up. All right, it's getting late. You should head home. Michael quickly got to his feet, said goodbye to Arthur and Teresa, and turned to leave. Isabelle followed him out. The moment Michael was out the door, he took several deep breaths. Are you being dramatic? Isabelle asked from behind him, amused. My parents don't eat people. It's just that I had no preparation at all, Michael said, his face a mask of misery. And I think your dad has a problem with me. You're overthinking it. Really? Really? Then I'll head out. Okay. I'm still a little shaken up. Can I get a hug? No. Isabelle's refusal was swift and clean. Seeing Michael's disappointed face, she quickly added, tomorrow. At that, Michael's face lit up. He left, happy as could be. Inside, on the sofa, the couple sat hand in hand, scrolling through information about Apex Capital Online. Isabelle sat across from them, her legs crossed, watching them. My goodness, it's such a huge company. Do you think our daughter will get bullied if she marries into that family? In the TV shows, the richer the family, the worse the relationship between the wife and the mother-in-law. TV shows are TV shows. That's just acting. But what if? Isabelle listened, getting more and more exasperated. Finally, she stood up, snatched the phone away, and looked down at her parents. That's enough, you two. Go do whatever it is you do. You don't need to worry about my business. Their family is so well off, Arthur said. Your mother and I are just worried you'll be mistreated if you marry into it. It's more likely I'll be the one bullying him. What about his mother? I've already met his mom. We even had lunch together today. She's a very nice person. Besides, Michael doesn't have any siblings. If we have a child, I can use the emperor to command the nobles. I'll be the one with the highest status in the family then, okay? The two of them looked at each other, their minds buzzing. They had never imagined that their simple, kind-hearted baby girl had already thought so far ahead. On his way home, Michael, his emotions having been on a roller coaster all day, made a voice call to Wyatt. Wyatt picked up quickly. Yo, Mr. Xiao, I just met Isabelle's parents. Nice, Wyatt laughed. That was fast. What did they say? They're not against you two dating, are they? They're not against it, but I think her dad kind of hates me. Of course he does. It's normal for him to hate you. The first time I met my father-in-law, I thought he was going to come at me with a knife. He still doesn't like me. Wyatt chuckled. Think about it from his perspective. If you had a daughter, and when she was 20 and in her prime, she suddenly brought a boyfriend home, what would you, as the father, think? Whoa. Michael's mood instantly brightened. When you put it like that, it actually makes sense. Don't worry about her, Dad. Just make her mom happy, and you'll be golden. Quick, give a brother some advice. How do I make her mom happy? Ask Isabelle. Find out what her mom's hobbies are, then tailor your approach. And remember to be sweet with your words. Older women are suckers for that. You're a genius. All right, if that's all, I'm going to hang up. When are you coming back to New York? Probably after the Lantern Festival. The clothing brand I invested in has a lot going on after the holidays. The company doesn't have much for me to do anyway, so I'll just be a hands-off boss for a while. You're living the good life. It's all right. Okay then, talk to you later. Yeah. The last few days before the holiday flew by. In the blink of an eye, it was New Year's Eve. Wyatt was woken up before dawn by some unlucky kids setting off firecrackers downstairs. He lazily got out of bed and walked into the living room, yawning. Sarah was in the kitchen, busy preparing for the evening's reunion dinner. Perhaps because Cece was coming, this year's feast was even more elaborate than usual. David was sitting on a small chair on the balcony, fixing their electric hot pot. Seeing Wyatt up so early, Sarah smiled. Well, look at you, young master, up so early today. Wyatt shrugged. It's New Year's Eve. Go wash your face. We'll eat something simple for breakfast and lunch. We're saving the good stuff for tonight. Wyatt nodded and asked, Dad's the hot pot broken? Yeah, I plugged it in, and it's not turning on. Don't strain yourself. I'll drive to the store later and buy a new one. I'm just tinkering with it since I have nothing else to do. If Cece can't eat spicy food, remember to get one of those divided pots later. I know, Wyatt said with a smile. After helping his dad hang a festive Happy New Year banner over the front door, Wyatt grabbed his car keys and hurried out, heading for Maple Creek Estates. His parents knew exactly where he was going, and they also knew he'd be back by evening for their own celebration, so neither said a word. They just went back to preparing for the big lunar New Year's Eve dinner. Over at Khloe's, Charles had also shown up bright and early, only to be immediately put to work by Miranda, who had him running errands all over the house. Not that he minded. He was basking in the simple joy of it. At least this year, he was allowed to stay for dinner. The gate to the yard was wide open when Wyatt arrived. He parked his car and practically jogged inside. You're here. Khloe, who had been scrolling on her phone on the couch, tossed it aside the moment she saw him. Where's our mom? Wyatt asked. Khloe pointed toward the kitchen. Wyatt walked to the doorway and peeked in, a grin spreading across his face. Miranda, you need a hand in here? Where's Charles? Miranda smiled back. He got here this morning. I sent him to the supermarket to pick up a few things. Why didn't you make Khloe help? She's useless in a kitchen. What good would she be? Miranda said, not missing a beat. Standing nearby, Khloe pouted. You didn't even ask me. Wyatt, could you hang the lanterns by the door for me? The supermarket is going to be a madhouse today. Lord knows when your uncle will be back. Where are they? I know. Khloe grabbed Wyatt's hand, then fetched a box of festive paper lanterns and a stepladder. They went out to the front porch. Wyatt taped the corners of the lantern strings and climbed the ladder while Khloe stepped back to direct him. It's crooked. The right side is a little high. Okay, that's about right. Wait, let me look again. Yeah, that's good. Go for it. Hanging decorations was a job Wyatt usually handled at his own house. So with his experience and Khloe's precise instructions, they had the lanterns up in no time. Not long after, Charles returned, his arms laden with grocery bags. He dropped them in the kitchen, stayed for about 10 minutes, and was promptly shooed out by Miranda. The thought of Wyatt taking his daughter to his family's house that evening was gnawing at him, so he felt compelled to offer a reminder. You make sure you bring Khloe back early tonight. I know. I already cleared it with Miranda. Khloe. Yeah, when you go to his house, be polite. Greet everyone properly. I know, Dad. Wyatt glanced toward the kitchen, then lowered his voice. Hey, Charles. Once I take Khloe, it's just going to be you and Miranda here. Seize the opportunity, man. Charles, ever conscious of his pride, immediately put on a stern face. My business with your aunt is none of your concern. Wyatt just smiled and let drop. Around 5 in the evening, as the sun began to set, Wyatt said his goodbyes to Miranda and took Khloe to his house. The moment he pushed the door open, he saw his parents sitting on the sofa, chatting away. The second they saw Wyatt and Khloe, they both jumped up to greet them, and the house instantly filled with a warm, bustling energy. Khloe was genuinely envious of the atmosphere in Wyatt's home. The way they addressed each other was a world away from her own family. Wyatt would call his parents Sarah and David as often as Mom and Dad. Sometimes he'd throw an arm around his mother's shoulders and declare, "This is the Queen Mother of our humble abode." His parents had just as many names for him. Son was the most common, followed by Wyatt. Sometimes they'd call him Your Highness when he was being lazy, or affectionate insults like Little Punk and You Shameless Brat. The three of them said whatever was on their minds, a stark contrast to her own parents, who kept everything bottled up inside. Khloe, you, and Wyatt watched some TV for a bit. I'm going to whip up a few more dishes, and then we'll have our New Year's Eve dinner, Sarah said. Okay. As soon as Sarah stood up, David followed her into the kitchen. The clatter of pots and pans mixed with the sound of firecrackers popping outside and the drone of a boring commercial on TV. Wyatt pulled out his phone and scrolled through a few group chats. Some people were buzzing about Venmo's new holiday cashback promotion, while others, having already finished their dinners, were spamming the chat with Happy New Year messages. Khloe held her phone out to Wyatt. Look at what Isabelle posted in our group chat. Wyatt glanced over. Isabelle was flaunting a screenshot of a New Year's Venmo payment from Michael Xiao. He grinned. You want one too? Yeah. Give me a kiss, and I'll send you $520. Really? Of course. What if I kiss you 10 times? Then I'll send it 10 times. 100 times? 100 times. Do you even have that much money? If I don't, I'll just owe you. Khloe glanced toward the kitchen, saw that Sarah and David were completely absorbed in their cooking, and leaned in, planting a series of quick, light kisses on his cheek. Finished. She immediately demanded, Okay, pay up. Send me the money. I'll do it later. No, now. Then, I'll owe you. You tricked me again. Khloe balled up her fist and playfully punched his arm. Wyatt feigned injury, letting out a loud, dramatic yelp. Khloe was about to tell him to stop faking when Sarah poked her head out of the kitchen. What's wrong? Khloe quickly sat up straight, but Wyatt just laughed. She saw someone send her roommate $520 and insisted I do the same for her. Khloe couldn't believe he'd sold her out. Her face flushed crimson. Well, go on then, send it, Sarah said. Wyatt had overheard his parents that morning discussing giving Khloe a red envelope, but they needed a good excuse to bring it out without it being awkward. This was the perfect setup. He deliberately sighed. I'm broke. The moment he said it, Sarah wiped her hands on her apron, came over, and sat down next to Khloe. She pulled an exquisite red envelope from her pocket and pressed it into Khloe's hands, her expression full of affection. Khloe froze, unsure what to do, and shot Wyatt a desperate, pleading look. Wyatt just grinned. Take it. You can split it with me when we leave. Sarah squeezed in between them and slapped Wyatt's thigh. You dare touch that money, and you can stop calling me Mom. She wasn't kidding. The slap actually stung. Wyatt grimaced. Mom, I was just joking. It's New Year's Eve. You don't have to hit so hard. Sarah shot him a look before getting up and returning to the kitchen. Khloe saw the mischievous glint in Wyatt's eyes and immediately pinched his ear. You knew about this, didn't you? Yeah. Then why didn't you tell me? It's not a big deal. Go on, see how much is in there. I'm not looking. Too embarrassed? If you won't look, let me see. Get lost. This is from Sarah, not you. Just take a peek. I bet there's a single dollar bill in there. Khloe's curiosity got the better of her. She peeked inside and then nodded. You're right, there is. What? Wyatt pulled her closer, his lips brushing her ear as he whispered, because it means you're 1 in a million. Khloe blinked. Huh. He squeezed her hand. It means they couldn't find a better daughter-in-law in the whole wide world. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. As the hosts of the big New Year's TV special delivered their soaring speeches about the year past and the future to come, the four of them sat around the dinner table, raising their glasses in celebration. The sound of firecrackers had been popping off since mid-afternoon, reaching a crescendo just as night fell. It was a tradition for every family to light a string of them as they sat down for their New Year's Eve feast. A toast, Wyatt began. To Mom and Dad, may you be healthy and happy in the new year. And to me, may I get lucky and get rich. He then turned to Khloe. And to you, may you stay forever 18 and maybe, just maybe, go a little easier on me this year. Khloe, flustered, didn't know how to respond. She just wrinkled her nose and, as Wyatt took a sip of his soda, reached under the table to give his thigh a vicious pinch. Wyatt didn't flinch. He simply captured her hand with his and, with a broad smile, placed a piece of chicken on her plate. This year's New Year's special was forgettable, with no standout performances. After eating his fill, Wyatt pulled out his phone and started sending New Year's greetings to his friends and family. First, the class group me. He dropped two $200 Venmo payments into the chat, and it instantly exploded with notifications. Then he tagged everyone with a simple, Happy New Year. His classmates, having claimed their cash, replied with their own good wishes. Next, he sent a private message to his advisor, Ms. Sutton. The message was short, but at least it wasn't a copy-pasted platitude. She replied with a simple, you too. Then came a company chat. Wyatt didn't say much. He just dropped over a dozen cash payments in a group. As a boss, he knew that the more you talked, the more annoying you were. The only thing that made you a good boss in your employees' eyes was putting money where your mouth was. Having been an employee in his past life, he understood this truth intimately. After the group chats, he sent individual Happy New Year texts to his 3 roommates. Then he opened the group chat for Khloe's dorm and sent a few payments there too. Ashley, thanks boss. /meme Sophie. Thank you, Wyatt. Hope you make a fortune this year. Isabelle at Wyatt. Sent a few more. Wyatt laughed. At Isabelle. You add Sir Michael to this chat, and I guarantee he'll send more than I will. Isabelle. Not letting him in just yet. Isabelle. It's harder to talk freely that way. Wyatt. Spoken like a true pro. Gotta admire the dedication to the brand. Isabelle. Damn right. Isabelle at Khloe. Why are you so quiet? Wyatt. She's right here next to me. Watching. Isabelle. Sophie. Ashley. Wyatt. Oh, I gotta go. We have to head to her place for a second New Year's dinner. Isabelle /thumbs_up Sophie /thumbs_up Ashley /thumbs_up. He closed the chat and then methodically sent New Year's wishes to Carter Liu, Travis Tang, and Cheryl Chun, the pillars of his company, as well as to Jessica's father and a few university administrators whose numbers he had. Finally, he sent voice memos to Michael, Leo, Vivien, and Elaine. After a final check to make sure he hadn't missed anyone, he saw that Khloe had also put down her chopsticks. He stood up and said to his mom, we're gonna head out. If we eat any more here, we won't have room at her place. Okay, Sarah said. She and David knew the plan and had no objections. With both kids being only children, Khloe's house would feel empty without her. Sarah even asked, Khloe, is your mom making dumplings tonight? Khloe shook her head. I don't think so. Wyatt, Sarah instructed, take some of these dumplings with you. For you all to eat at midnight. Got it. It was 8:50 p.m. Wyatt and Khloe set off. With the roads nearly empty on New Year's Eve, the usual 20-minute drive took them just over 10. Back at Maple Creek Estates, Miranda and Charles were on the sofa, watching the TV special. Charles kept glancing from the screen to Miranda, wanting to say something, but hesitating each time. Just as the clock ticked past 9, and he finally worked up the nerve to say her name, a car horn sounded from outside. Miranda immediately got up and headed for the door. Can you two possibly eat any more? She asked as they came in. Wyatt patted his stomach and grinned. We only ate until we were half full. We saved room for the real feast here. Well then, I'll go heat up the food. You two relax and watch the show. Sounds good. Miranda went cheerfully into the kitchen. Within 15 minutes, the four of them were seated at the table. Just as he had at his own home, Wyatt raised his glass first, thanking his mother-in-law for preparing such a magnificent meal and offering his New Year's wishes. In previous years, the holiday had always been a quiet, almost cold affair. Neither Khloe nor Charles were the types to say such effusive things. But with Wyatt's presence this year, the house finally felt like a home. And to you, Wyatt, Miranda toasted, I wish you a successful and safe New Year. Cheers! Cheers! Dinner lasted for about an hour. After they cleared the table, the four of them settled onto the sofa to watch the rest of the boring TV special. Khloe, who was usually asleep by this time, started yawning almost immediately. Wyatt felt a wave of drowsiness too. He scooted closer to her and, without any hesitation, rested his head on her shoulder. Khloe didn't stop him. Instead, she leaned her own head against Miranda's shoulder. My turn, my turn. Seeing the three of them looking so cozy, Charles sat up straight, waiting for Miranda to lean on him. But he waited and waited, and Miranda remained unmoved. She sat cross-legged on the sofa, sometimes watching the TV, sometimes glancing at her phone, sometimes feeding her daughter a small snack. A chill crept into Charles's heart. Wyatt, yeah, when are you heading back to school after the break? Probably after the Lantern Festival. Vivien's brand is expanding this year, and Elaine agreed to be a guest designer for the company. I want to stick around for a few extra days to see if I can help out. That's good. You could stay home a little longer. The two of them chatted back and forth. Khloe didn't want to interject, and Charles couldn't find a way in. At the stroke of midnight, the sound of firecrackers erupted outside once more. Brilliant fireworks shot into the sky, their colorful sparks showering down like falling stars. Wyatt stood up and walked to the door, opening it. Khloe looked over, then got up and followed him. They stood together, looking up at the sky. The new year had officially begun. Wyatt reached out and took Khloe's small hand in his. Happy New Year, he said softly. Happy New Year. The words had barely left her lips when Wyatt suddenly leaned down and, under Khloe's astonished gaze, kissed her. Miranda? Charles. Leo sat on the sofa, a goofy grin plastered on his face as he texted Sophie. His parents, Paul and Helen, were used to it by now. Ever since he'd come home for the break, their son would periodically drift into this love-struck stupor. They saw it all, but said nothing. Leo had zero interest in the New Year's TV special. He'd had a little to drink at dinner and was now using his liquid courage to text Sophie. Leo, you know something? Leo, Wyatt and Khloe are spending New Year's together. I heard they're having dinner at his place until 9, and then at her place after. Sophie, I know. Sophie, he said so in the group chat. Leo, when can I spend New Year's with you? Sophie, had you been drinking? Leo, just a little. Sophie, I knew it. Leo, you didn't answer my question. Sophie, we'll see. Leo, I heard Michael and Isabelle already met each other's parents. When are you going to come home and meet mine? Sophie, does your mom know about me? Leo, I haven't told them yet. You? Sophie, me neither. But I think my parents have already guessed. Leo shot a nervous glance at his parents. But his mother, Helen, had been secretly reading their chat over his shoulder the whole time. The moment he looked up, she feigned nonchalance and started cracking open sunflower seeds. Leo was speechless. Mom, were you spying on my conversation? What if I was? Is it something you can't let people see? He had no comeback. Helen, still cracking seeds, spoke casually. You know, your father and I have known you've had a girlfriend for a while. What? You started dating last year, didn't you? Don't play dumb. When you came home for winter break last year, you were glued to that phone, smiling like an idiot. You really think your dad and I are blind? Wyatt started dating before I did. We're talking about you. Why are you bringing Wyatt into this? It was a classic Leo move. In high school, whenever he got a bad grade, he'd always follow it up with, but Wyatt did worse than me. When he wanted new clothes or shoes, it was always, Wyatt's parents just bought him new sneakers, I want a pair too. His father, Paul, seeing that his wife had blown the lid off, finally asked, where's she from? Philadelphia. Go to the same school? No, she's Wyatt's girlfriend's roommate. You got a picture? Yeah. Just then, Leo's phone buzzed continuously. Helen snatched it from his hand, glanced at the contact name, and sent a voice message. Sophie, you should come visit sometime. Your uncle and I will be waiting for you. Are you crazy? Leo yelped, his face beet red. He snatched the phone back and scurried off to his room in embarrassment. Paul chuckled. Your son's really something. Can't believe he landed a girlfriend with that clumsy mouth of his. Helen slapped his thigh. What do you mean, your son? You act like you had nothing to do with it. Every year, Michael's family celebrated New Year's Eve with his grandparents, aunts, and uncles. This year was no exception. At the dinner table, his father, Walter, gave him some rare praise. He said Michael had been more responsible this year, worked decently at the company, hadn't been fooling around as much, and had even quit smoking. Michael's grandparents beamed at the news. He was their precious grandson. While his grandfather was more composed, his grandmother had doted on him like a little prince since he was a child. His mother, Susan, served food to the elders and smiled. Mom, Dad, there's a reason Michael's been so well-behaved this year. What reason is that? He has a girlfriend. Mom. Michael groaned, a look of helplessness on his face. His grandmother immediately grabbed his hand, her face full of grandmotherly affection. How old is she? Where's she from? Michael had no choice but to answer honestly. After hearing his reply, his grandmother patted his hand, her face alight with joy. Good. If the age is right, you should get married soon. Grandma is waiting to hold her great-grandson. Grandma, Michael explained patiently, she's still in college. His father, Walter, chuckled. Mom, let the kids live their own lives. If you take care of yourself, you'll get to hold a great-grandson one day. That's good. Fearing the conversation would circle back to him, Michael finished his meal and retreated to the sofa. He replied to Wyatt's New Year's message and then sent one to Isabelle. Isabelle replied quickly, Happy New Year. Michael, finished with dinner? Isabelle, yep, we eat early. Watching the TV special now. Michael, you free tomorrow? Isabelle, what are you planning? Michael, I want to see you. Isabelle, didn't we just see each other yesterday? Michael, haven't you heard the saying? A day apart feels like a lifetime. Michael, I want to see you every day. Isabelle, what a sweet talker. Isabelle, looks like you've been taking lessons from Wyatt. Michael, it's the truth. Isabelle, come find me tomorrow afternoon. I can't get up in the morning. Michael, you got it. Love you. Reading Michael's message, a slow smile spread across Isabelle's face. She tapped on his profile picture and changed the note next to his name from 50% to 60%. Sam's family dinner was also far more lavish this year than ever before. In past years, they might have killed a chicken and bought a pork leg from the village pig farmer. But this year, when Sam took his younger sister, Carly, to the market, he bought things they could never afford, or had never even tried before. Crabs, beef brisket, fresh sliced lamb. Sam had seen crab once before at a group dinner with Wyatt. He desperately wanted to know what it tasted like, but was afraid of making a fool of himself trying to eat it, so he never took any. Later, Wyatt had grabbed a crab, cracked it open, and claimed he couldn't finish it, offering half to Sam. Only then did Sam, mimicking Wyatt's movements, get his first taste of crab roe. Honestly, he hadn't found it that special. But now, watching his sister clumsily pick apart a big crab, a soft smile spread across his face. Dad, you're not well. Drink less. But I'm happy today. Mom, after the holiday, I'm going to buy a big refrigerator online. From now on, you need to buy good food for Carly every few days. Look at her. She barely weighs 90 pounds. Don't buy anything too expensive. We don't have that much to put in it. I know. Sam pulled out his phone. He checked the messages in the class chat, then the company chat. He sent private Happy New Year messages to Wyatt, Chris, and Alex. Then almost unconsciously, his thumb hovered over his chat with Abby Jean. Just as he was hesitating, a notification popped up. Ding dong, it was Abby, proactively sending him a New Year's greeting. A smile bloomed on Sam's face as he quickly typed a reply. Back at Maple Creek Estates. The moment Wyatt and Khloe's lips met, Miranda immediately stood up and announced, I'll go cook the dumplings, before striding quickly into the kitchen. The stunned father, Charles, stared at the couple by the door, his eyes wide as saucers. From his perspective, Wyatt's move was no different from taking a dump right in front of him. From the kitchen, Miranda glanced out and saw Charles still gawking. She marched over, grabbed him by the arm, and dragged him into the kitchen. You, aren't you going to do something? Don't be ridiculous. When the water boils, you put the dumplings in. After giving her order, Miranda carefully peeked her head out the door again. By now, the two were locked in an embrace. The sky full of fireworks had become their backdrop. Last year, this day, this year, this moment, it felt like everything had changed, and yet, nothing had changed at all. The first week of the Lunar New Year was for visiting relatives and paying respects. David's side of the family was small, and Sarah's second sister lived all the way in Philadelphia, so they usually just called her. Aside from a trip to his younger aunt's house and one trip to the countryside, Wyatt spent most of his time either at home or at Maple Creek Estates. This year, the 7th day of the Lunar New Year happened to fall on February 14th, Valentine's Day. Wyatt woke up, leisurely went through his morning routine, and by the time he was done, Sarah was placing a bowl of noodles on the dining table. I'm headed to work in a bit, she said. If you're eating out for lunch, give me a heads up so your dad and I can eat at the office. If not, Wait for me to get back, and I'll cook something for you. Wyatt looked down at the plain noodles. Mom, this is just broth and noodles. How am I supposed to eat this? Don't eat it, then. I'll feed it to the dog. With that, Sarah picked up the bowl and placed it in front of David. David's eyes went wide. What's that supposed to mean? I'm the dog. Then don't eat it. Seeing Sarah about to take the bowl away, looking genuinely annoyed, Wyatt quickly snatched it back. I'll eat it. I'll eat it, he said with a grin. A few slurps in, he discovered a poached egg hiding at the bottom of the bowl. It seemed to be time for work. Sarah gathered her things and rushed out the door. Wyatt, still eating, noticed his dad sitting leisurely nearby. Dad, don't you have work today? It's the beginning of the year. Nothing's going on at the office. I can go in at 10, it's fine. Then why didn't you drive Mom to work? It's not far. The electric scooter is more convenient. Wyatt rolled his eyes. Dad, it's not about convenience. It's about the gesture. Do you even know what day it is today? What day? It's Valentine's Day. Huh. David's eyes widened. Why didn't you say so earlier? Wyatt deadpanned. Mom was right here. How could I? It's fine. Your mom and I have been married for so many years. We've hardly ever celebrated Valentine's Day. I'm heading out soon, and we'll be back late. Mom will definitely be home early since it's the first day back. You'd better be on your best behavior. What do you mean, best behavior? Wyatt looked at his father with utter disappointment. Seriously? How did you not inherit any of my romantic genius? Buy some flowers, have a candlelight dinner, say I love you a few times. Do I have to teach you everything? You little brat, talking back to your old man. Wyatt finished his noodles in a few quick bites, changed his shoes, grabbed his keys, and sent a text to Khloe before driving off toward Maple Creek Estates. On the way, he stopped at a flower shop and bought a bouquet of red roses for twice the usual price. As luck would have it, just as he reached the entrance to the community, he saw his father-in-law's car ahead of him. He honked twice. Charles glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Wyatt behind him, and his mood immediately soured. Ever since New Year's Eve, when Wyatt had kissed Khloe right in front of him, he couldn't see the kid without picturing that scene. And every time he pictured it, he felt like he'd just eaten dirt. His precious daughter, whom he'd barely kissed a few times when she was little. And this punk dared to nibble on her right in front of him. Unforgivable. The two cars parked one behind the other. Khloe, who had received Wyatt's text, was waiting inside. Hearing the cars, she hurried out. Tada! Before he was even out of the car, Wyatt held up the bouquet of roses. Khloe saw them and blushed. Charles watched his daughter shyly accept the flowers, and his heart bled. Khloe, oh Khloe, is a bouquet of flowers all it takes to make you this happy? Wyatt got out of the car, glanced at Charles's envious, resentful expression, and deliberately asked, Charles, you didn't buy any flowers today? Charles said righteously, why would I buy flowers? It's Valentine's Day. Balin. Valentine's Day. A man like Charles never paid attention to such holidays. What he didn't know was that most women cared deeply about them. Not just Valentine's Day, but birthdays, anniversaries, even made-up holidays. Charles glanced nervously toward the house, wondering if he should drive to a flower shop and get a bouquet for Miranda. On one hand, he looked down on Wyatt's methods, but on the other, he knew they were damn effective. Seeing his dilemma, Wyatt leaned close to Khloe and whispered, give the flowers to your dad. Let him give them to your mom. I'll drive you to Vivien's office. Khloe thought it was the perfect plan. It let her dad look good and gave her parents some time alone. She nodded obediently, walked over to Charles, and pushed the bouquet into his hands. Give these to Mom, she instructed, and don't say they're from Wyatt. Before he could protest, Khloe turned and got into Wyatt's car. As Wyatt pulled away, he gave Charles a thumbs up. Watching them leave, Charles looked down at the flowers in his hand. He hesitated for a moment, then finally walked inside. Hearing footsteps, Miranda thought it was Wyatt. Wyatt, come help me move this table. I need to mop underneath. Charles walked over. He placed the flowers on the table, went to the other side, and lifted his end. What are you doing here? Your daughter has been spirited away by that kid. Who else would it be? Miranda finished mopping under the table and looked up at the bouquet. She wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand and was about to move on when Charles, with a rare flash of insight, took the mop from her. As he mopped, he asked, what day are you going to Philadelphia? The 19th. You're not staying for the Lantern Festival. Miranda shook her head. The office reopened today. I have to be there on the 19th. Charles said, I have to go back to the bank tomorrow. Will Khloe be okay at home by herself? She has Wyatt, doesn't she? With us not here, he'll be even more brazen. Miranda found a vase and began arranging the flowers. Charles, can you please accept reality? Do you really think your one-man opposition to their relationship is going to make any difference? Charles said stubbornly, when did I say I was opposed? I'm just not happy about it. Not happy about what? That kid acted like a hooligan right in front of me. He has no respect for me. It's only hooliganism if your daughter doesn't agree to it. Hearing this, Charles suddenly turned to her. Then if I kiss you right now, would that count as hooliganism? Miranda's hand, holding a rose, froze in midair. A tempting smile played on her lips. After a long moment, she answered with a crisp, clean yes. Charles sighed and went back to mopping. Miranda's smile vanished. Her movements became rough and jerky as she jammed the flowers into the vase. If that had been Wyatt, she thought, he wouldn't have cared one bit whether Khloe said yes or no. Today was the first day back at the office for Vivien's secret after the New Year break. Vivien had called Hannah the night before, telling her to get to the office early and prepare the welcome back bonuses. Shortly after 8 in the morning, employees began to trickle in. Vivien stood at the door, handing out a red envelope to each person. When Wyatt arrived with Khloe, he caught the tail end of it. He and Khloe didn't get envelopes. Instead, Vivien pulled them over to help her hand them out. By 9 o'clock, everyone had arrived. Wyatt did a rough head count. There had to be 70 or 80 people, and almost all of them were women. This was partly due to the nature of the industry, and partly because the company's main product was lingerie, so they intentionally skewed their hiring toward female candidates. Hannah, go tell all the department heads to meet in the conference room in 10 minutes. You got it. Hannah, full of post-holiday energy, chirped her reply and skipped out of the office. Vivien poured a cup of hot water for Khloe. Khloe, I'm taking Wyatt to a quick meeting. Just hang out in the office for a bit, okay? I'll treat you both to lunch. Okay. 10 minutes later, Vivien and Wyatt entered the conference room, and the cheerful chatter immediately died down. Vivien took her seat at the head of the table without hesitation, then gave Wyatt a look, gesturing for him to sit to her left. Today is our first day back, so first, let me wish you all a happy new year. The main purpose of this meeting is to discuss the company's plans and goals for the year. To start, having been a boss for a while now, Vivien had developed her own confident style. The managers in a room were all people she had personally promoted, and her authority in the company was absolute. Plus, her brother, a high-ranking police officer, often stopped by, which only added to her clout. The moment she spoke, all eyes were on her. The new brand is our company's top priority this year. I expect everyone to be prepared. Also, Tom, you need to keep a close eye on the factory. If anything goes wrong on your end, you'll be the first person I hold accountable. No problem. I'll be on it. The factory manager was Tom, the same man Wyatt had promoted from deputy manager last summer. After Wyatt's two-pronged tactical assault on the factory's management, the previous manager, Carl Benson, had resigned. Tom's production line had performed well, so Vivien was entrusting him with a new brand. With Carl's failure as a cautionary tale, Tom wouldn't dare pull any stunts. He knew full well that people below him were already eyeing his position. Vivien was diligently executing Wyatt's strategy. All right, that's all I have to say. Now, let's have our own Mr. Wyatt say a few words. Wyatt froze. He shot a look at Vivien, his eyes screaming, Lady boss, could you maybe give me a heads up next time you're going to put me on the spot? Thankfully, Wyatt was no stranger to the spotlight. Facing the roomful of expectant faces, he began speaking without a trace of fear. Vivien has already covered the details, so I'll just add a few things. I'm sure you're all aware of the company's performance last year. We went from 0 to 1 in less than a year. Though completely unprepared, Wyatt spoke eloquently, his words flowing. He focused on 3 main points: summarizing the past, looking to the future, and executing in the present. His vision was much grander than Vivien's. He even mentioned the possibility of an IPO. But his words carried weight. These managers were among the earliest employees. They had witnessed his methods firsthand last summer. Without his influencer marketing campaign and his drastic factory reforms, the company never would have grown so quickly. In short, the road ahead is just beginning. This year is the most critical and important one for us. Whether we stagnate or surge forward depends on all of you in this room. Let's give it our all. Let's do it. All right, everyone back to work. After the meeting, Vivien called Tanya Yuan into her office. When Tanya entered, she first greeted Ms. Pei, and then, seeing Wyatt, she shyly added, Mr. Wyatt, it's you. Khloe was the most surprised. She had no idea she'd run into Tanya at the company today. Vivien smiled. Tanya originally applied to be a designer's assistant. But since you two already know each other, I was thinking that from now on, she could be your direct point of contact for all design-related matters. You can then communicate with your Aunt Elaine. Wyatt nodded. That works. Tanya, come over here. Vivien beckoned her to her desk, pulled up Elaine's design sketches on the computer, and said, These are the designs for our new Brands 4 series. Besides me and Mr. Wyatt, You're the first person in the company to see them. Once the factory is ready, I need you to coordinate with them directly. If any issues come up, you report them to Mr. Wyatt. And let me remind you, these designs are crucial to the company. Tanya was nervous, but she understood the gravity of the situation. Understand, she said quickly. I'll keep them confidential. Good. I'll send you the files later. For now, go get your new hire paperwork sorted out. Okay. Wyatt spent the entire morning in Vivien's office, mostly discussing the new brand. At noon, he and Khloe had lunch with Vivien and Hannah, after which they left together. In the car, Khloe made a rare suggestion. Want to go see a movie this afternoon? Isabelle said Kingsman is hilarious. Sure. That evening, when Sarah pushed open the front door, she was greeted by the sight of her husband, David, leaning one-handed against the doorframe, holding a bouquet of roses, striking a very cheesy pose. Sarah rolled her eyes. Are you feeling okay? You have no romance in your soul. It's Valentine's Day. Always wasting money, she grumbled, but she took the roses from him anyway. She walked inside, and seeing a full spread of food on the table, a smile finally broke through. Well, look at you, David. Married all these years, and this is the first time I've gotten this kind of treatment. So, are you moved? It's tolerable. Sarah put her bag on the entryway cabinet and walked toward the table. David solicitously pulled out a chair for her. Madam, please be seated. You goofball, she laughed. Where's our son? On a day like today, you really think he'd be sitting at home? Pour me something to drink. I'm dying of thirst. How about some red wine tonight? All right. David poured 2 glasses, handed one to Sarah, and then raised his own. Honey, I love you, he said, his voice full of warmth. Sarah blushed. She waved her hand dismissively. Okay, I know. Just try not to piss me off, and that'll be enough. Let's go. Miranda, who had been at home all day, suddenly stood up. Charles got up too, completely bewildered. Where are we going? Miranda grabbed her purse. To see the place you're living in. Charles froze. After their divorce, he had come to Maple Creek Estates frequently, but Miranda had never once set foot in his place. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Or is there another woman there you don't want me to see? Am I that kind of person? Charles snatched the purse from her hand and strode quickly out the door. Miranda smiled and followed him. He opened the door to a small living room. It contained only a sofa and a glass coffee table. There was no TV. The kitchen was on the right, a tiny space with barely enough room to move. The first thing Miranda did was check the refrigerator. As expected, it was nearly empty, holding just a few scattered items, a quarter of a cabbage, a shriveled carrot, and on the bottom shelf, some eggs and a carton of milk. Miranda pulled out the milk, glanced at the date, and handed it to Charles. It expires in 2 days. Don't you check the expiration date when you buy things? Charles said awkwardly, I bought that 2 weeks ago. Miranda didn't respond. She pulled open the freezer drawer. It was packed but entirely with frozen foods. Dumplings, sweet rice balls, bun, steaks. Charles put the milk back. I don't eat at home much, he explained. Mostly I eat out. Miranda turned and walked out of the kitchen. After a quick scan of the living room, she headed for the bedroom. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. The second bedroom was being used as a storage room, filled with clutter. The master bedroom was Charles's. It was clean, but it didn't feel like a home. It felt like a hotel room. Miranda didn't go in. She just stood in the doorway for a long time, her eyes fixed on a photograph on the nightstand. It was a family portrait, taken at a studio when Khloe was still in elementary school. The photo looked dated, but to Miranda, the day it was taken felt like yesterday, every detail still vivid in her memory. Let's go. Where? To eat. Miranda had been in the apartment for less than 10 minutes. She turned and left. Charles hastily locked the door and hurried after her. They found a restaurant and sat down. After ordering a few dishes, Charles spoke first. Should we call Khloe? If she hasn't eaten, we can have that kid bring her over. No need. Miranda shook her head. They'll definitely be eating out today. After New Year's, did you ask Khloe about his parents? Of course I did. And? What did she say? She said they're great. That the couple is very cheerful. She said Wyatt and his dad are like best friends. He calls him David half the time. What about his mom? She said she's very warm and good-tempered. Miranda continued, I was originally thinking of having Wyatt arrange for us to meet his parents after the break, but since they haven't brought it up, there's no need for us to rush. The two of them still have 2 years of college left. Charles immediately agreed. Exactly. What's the rush with something like this? We shouldn't have even let Khloe go to their house for New Year's this year. What do you know? I arranged it that way to give their relationship an extra layer of security. Charles wasn't stupid. He knew what she meant. What's there to be afraid of? If he does our daughter wrong, I'll break his legs. I wasn't worried before, but he's changed so much in the last 2 years. A college student who hasn't even graduated has already earned millions. He'll face a lot of temptations. That's why before I go to Philadelphia, I'm going to have a serious talk with Khloe. She needs to keep a close eye on him. It's just strange. Other people work their fingers to the bone and earn so little. How does everything he touches turn to gold? Miranda smiled. Think of it another way. He becomes a boss, and Khloe becomes the boss's wife. He becomes a chairman, and Khloe becomes the chairman's wife. While they were eating, Wyatt suddenly sneezed. Khloe handed him a napkin. What's wrong? Did the spice get to you? No. Wyatt shook his head. Someone must be plotting against me. You and your nonsense. Wyatt rubbed his nose and picked up his chopsticks again. Oh, right, I forgot to ask. Is your mom going to be home for the Lantern Festival this year? She's leaving for Philadelphia next week. This was what Wyatt had expected. Most companies were already back to work. Even a multinational wouldn't wait until after the Lantern Festival. He nodded. Okay, then I'll give my mom a heads up that you'll be coming over to our place for the festival. Khloe didn't reply, which was her way of agreeing. After dinner, they walked hand in hand through the city park. The temperature had been warming up, but the nights were still chilly. As darkness fell, Wyatt took Khloe's small hand and tucked it into the pocket of his down jacket. They found a bench and sat down. Should we head back? Wyatt glanced at his watch. It was getting late. Let's stay a little longer, Khloe murmured, resting her head on his shoulder. They talked about nothing in particular, their quiet conversation filling the cool night air. Half an hour later, they finally got back in the car and returned to Maple Creek Estates. The lights in the house were on, but Miranda was nowhere to be seen in the living room. Khloe stood at the bottom of the stairs and called up twice, but Miranda's voice came from a guest room on the first floor. They exchanged a look and walked over. Seeing Miranda making a bed in the guest room, Khloe asked, Mom, what are you doing? Oh, Miranda explained with a smile. This guest room is just sitting empty. I thought I'd clean it up. It'll be convenient in case Wyatt needs to stay over sometime. Khloe? Wyatt? Khloe didn't quite process it. The guest room had always been used for storage. No one had ever stayed in it. The only guest they'd ever had, her Aunt Elaine, had always slept with Miranda in the master bedroom on the third floor. Khloe couldn't figure out her mother's motive. Next to her, Wyatt was internally losing his mind. Holy crap. Holy crap. Is my mother-in-law telling me I can stay here when she's not home? Oh my God. How can there be such a perfect mother-in-law? He was so overjoyed he wanted to grab Miranda's face and plant a dozen kisses on her forehead. Seeing Wyatt roll up his sleeves, Khloe quickly grabbed his arm. What are you doing? I'm helping. Helping with what? Khloe's face was beet red. She gave Wyatt a light kick, got behind him, and started pushing him toward the door. You get out. There's nothing for you to do here. You're kicking me out? That's right. After finally managing to shove Wyatt out, Khloe rushed back into the guest room. Mom, stop. You don't have to do all this. I'm almost done. I'm not letting that guy stay in our house. Miranda looked at her daughter's flushed face and smiled. Are you saying you two have never lived together? I. Miranda finished making the bed, walked over, and pulled Khloe down to sit beside her. Then, in a serious tone, she said, Come on, it's time we had a talk. You two have met each other's parents now. Most couples don't get to this step until they're about to get engaged. But here we are. It would have been strange not to meet. But you're still in school, so marriage is at least 2 years away. There are some things that if I don't tell you, no one will. So don't think I'm nagging. Miranda began her lesson. Men and women approach love completely differently. Most women, when they truly fall in love, will devote themselves wholeheartedly to a man. But men are different. I've dealt with many successful men. A lot of them are self-made, but a great number of them, once their careers take off, either abandon the wife who stood by them through thick and thin or find other women on the side. Now, I'm not saying Wyatt is that kind of person, but you have to understand a fundamental truth. No one is irreplaceable in someone's heart. So, love needs to be managed. For us women, the most important thing is to capture a man's heart. Khloe didn't notice that Miranda had said us women, not as a girl or as a woman. Nor did she grasp the deeper implication of the statement. I've told you before, business and socializing are unavoidable. So don't pick fights with him over it. Don't let it become a source of conflict. Remember what I'm telling you. If you have an opinion, if you have a thought, you must tell him immediately. Most arguments that spiral out of control are built up over time. If you're unhappy, don't sulk. It's not good for you, and it's not good for him. Secondly, when it's just the two of you, it's fine to throw a little tantrum or make him do things for you. But when you're around other people, you must give him face. I just said that many men abandon their wives after they become successful, but there are also many who continue to dote on their wives. And those women, they almost always master this one thing. They not only give their man face in public, but they also provide him with immense emotional support. So, you also need to learn to listen. Work is full of frustrations, and no one can resist complaining. When that happens, don't act impatient. Instead, be considerate of his feelings, or just shower him with praise. That's all I'm going to say for today. Keep these words in mind. And remember, I will always support you and be on your side. So you don't have to hold back with me. I know. All right, it's getting late. Go wash up and get to bed. Khloe nodded and was about to leave the room when Miranda remembered something. Oh, right. Khloe, stop. The things I gave you last time. If you run out, remember to buy more. If you're too embarrassed, have Wyatt buy them. Miranda then added, I saw them when I was checking your bag for laundry last time. I wasn't trying to snoop. Okay, I get it. I'm going to bed. Khloe fled, her face so red it looked like you could squeeze water from it. Miranda smiled, got up, closed the door, and left. Time at home passed quickly. The company had officially reopened a few days ago. Chris had returned to NYC early, and Wyatt had him do some prep work before they held a video conference call that morning. Wyatt spent his days taking Khloe to the Vivien secret office. After a while, all the employees got to know him. Whenever they saw him, they'd greet him with a Mr. Wyatt. A couple of days later, worried that Miranda would have no one to see her off to Philadelphia, Wyatt got up early to drive over. But he was surprised to find that his father-in-law had, for once, used his brain. Charles had taken the day off to drive Miranda to Philadelphia himself. Before she left, Miranda pulled Wyatt aside for a private chat. After watching them drive away, Khloe immediately turned on him. What did my mom say to you just now? Just to take good care of you. What else? Nothing else. Impossible. You two talked for a long time. Tell me the truth. You really want to know? Yes. Then let's go inside first. They closed the gate and went back to the living room sofa. The moment they sat down, Khloe demanded, well, spit it out. Are you sure you want to hear this? Oh, stop beating around the bush. Then just wait a second. I have to make a call. Wyatt pulled out his phone and dialed his mom. Sarah's unmistakable voice came through the speaker. Hello, son. Mom, I need to tell you something. Go ahead. I'm taking Khloe on a little trip for a couple of days, so I won't be home. Don't wait up for me. We'll come over for dinner on the Lantern Festival, which is the day after tomorrow. Okay, Sarah agreed without a moment's hesitation. After Wyatt hung up, Khloe unleashed a flurry of playful punches on him. Are you out of your mind? Did I say you could sleep over at my house? I'm telling you, I'm starting to really dislike you. Wyatt, thick-skinned as ever, endured the assault. Doesn't matter. Your mom said it was okay. Bullshit. It's true. She didn't say it directly, but that's what she meant. You think I'm going to believe that? Then why do you think she cleaned out the guest room? Khloe was speechless, instantly losing the upper hand. Wyatt laughed and pulled her into his arms, pointing to a black bag on the coffee table. Did you not notice? Your mom even prepared a set of toiletries for me. Khloe quickly opened the bag. Seeing that he was telling the truth, she froze in disbelief. Your mom said that if you were home alone, you might not even eat 3 meals a day. So she told me to stay by your side as much as possible and take care of you. As if you're so good at taking care of people, Khloe huffed, shrugging her shoulders. Name it. What do you want for lunch? I'll make it for you. Really? Of course. Then listen up. I want kung pao chicken, mapo tofu, braised pork ribs with potatoes, and shredded pork with garlic sauce. Wyatt reached out and pinched her cheeks. Quite the demanding little lady, aren't you? You know it, Khloe said, turning her head away haughtily. Wyatt stood up and took her hand. Come on, let's go to the supermarket and get everything we need for the next couple of days. Khloe pulled her hand back. You go by yourself. I don't want to. Come on. You have to beg me. All right, I'm begging you. Please come with me. A smile instantly lit up Khloe's face, her dimples showing clearly. She raised her arms and commanded playfully, Carry me. Wyatt bent down and scooped her up from the sofa. Laughing and fooling around, they left the house. On the road to the station, Miranda was staring intently at the live feed from the security camera on her phone. Only when the two of them disappeared from the frame did she finally put her phone down, a knowing smile on her face. They spent over half an hour at the supermarket, leaving with their hands full of bags. Back home, Wyatt went straight into the kitchen to start on lunch, with Khloe eagerly offering to help. You can start the rice, he said. Okay. Khloe took the inner pot of the rice cooker and went to the rice container. How much should I use? Wyatt glanced at the scoop in her hand. A scoop and a half should be enough. Khloe obediently followed his instructions. A few seconds later, she asked, And how much water? Stick your pinky in. The water should come up to the first knuckle. And remember to wipe the outside of the pot before you put it in. Got it. After washing the vegetables for lunch, Wyatt picked up a knife and began chopping with practiced skill. Khloe stood beside him, watching intently like a young apprentice. The first dish was kung pao chicken, which wasn't too difficult. The main ingredients were chicken breast, with cucumber, carrots, and peanuts as sides. There were many ways to make it. The Sichuan version was too spicy for most, and the chicken often came out dry. Wyatt's version was milder, suited for a wider palate. Just so you know, we're not doing the braised pork ribs today. Not enough time. We'll have it for lunch tomorrow. Okay. It took about 15 minutes to whip up a fragrant and colorful Kung Pao chicken. Before plating it, Wyatt picked up a piece with his chopsticks and held it to Khloe's lips. Try it. Khloe opened her mouth to eat, but Wyatt quickly pulled his hand back. It's hot. Blow on it first. Oh. Khloe blew on it a couple of times before carefully taking a bite. She chewed for a moment, decided it was delicious, and gave him an unreserved thumbs up. Not bad, not bad. It's really good. Wyatt smiled and plated the dish. Another 20 minutes later, after finishing the shredded pork with garlic sauce and the mapo tofu, the rice was also perfectly cooked. It was exactly 12 o'clock. As Wyatt filled the pot with water and took off his apron to serve the rice, he saw Khloe had already done it. The rice is ready. Why is there so much in my bowl and so little in yours? Wyatt picked up his bowl. I'll give you some of mine. I don't want it. Come on, or I'm calling your mom. Khloe pouted, reluctantly holding out her bowl. Just a little bit. I know. Okay, that's enough. At that moment, Charles pulled into a service area on the highway, planning to grab a quick bite with Miranda. He saw her get out of the car, still glued to her phone. He couldn't help but ask, "What are you looking at so intently?" Miranda looked up, then handed him the phone. Charles took it and saw it was the live feed from their home security camera. His eyes immediately fell on Wyatt and Khloe at the dining table. Miranda beamed. Every time I used to go to Philadelphia, I'd worry about whether Khloe could take care of herself alone. Now, even when I'm not home, there's someone to look after her. Charles scoffed. So he made your daughter one meal? Have you ever made your daughter a meal? Miranda countered, adding, and eating out doesn't count. Charles handed the phone back, his voice tinged with jealousy. Yes, I see. The way you're looking, if you were 20 years younger, you'd want to be with this kid yourself, wouldn't you? Miranda deliberately provoked him. Of course. He's much better than some people. Hey, I was just saying, you don't actually think that, do you? Wasn't I better looking than him when I was in my 20s? What's that supposed to mean? It doesn't mean anything. What does it doesn't mean anything mean? Charles, are you crazy? I'm having the beef noodle bowl. You just wait. While I get back to Riverwood, I'm going to start learning how to cook. Next summer when Khloe comes home, I'll cook for you two every single day. That afternoon, Wyatt drove home to grab a change of clothes, his phone charger, and his wallet. Khloe, with nothing to do, started a conversation in her dorm's group chat. Khloe, what's everyone up to? Isabelle. Well, look who it is. Miss Khloe gracing our chat with her presence. What's up? Wyatt didn't come see you today. Sophie. Just woke up and weighed myself. I gained 3 pounds over the break. Ashley. Gaining 3 pounds over the holidays is totally normal. Khloe. If you don't get on the scale, you can't gain weight. Sophie. Haha. Sophie. It's not like you ever gain weight. Isabelle. When are you guys coming back to school? Isabelle. I miss you all. Sophie. The day after the Lantern Festival. Ashley. +1 Isabelle at Khloe. What about you? Khloe. I'm also coming back after the Lantern Festival. Isabelle. Isabelle, what's going on? Hasn't your mom left for work yet? Why are you celebrating the Lantern Festival alone? Come to NYC and hang out with me. Khloe. I can celebrate it at Wyatt's house. Isabelle. Damn it. Isabelle. You two don't even try to hide it anymore, do you? Isabelle. The stench of love. Isabelle. You've successfully grossed me out. Sophie. +1 Ashley. +1. Wyatt. Isabelle, stop pretending. Doesn't Sir Michael come see you every other day? You two are always posting on your stories. You're the one showing off. Ashley. Sorry, I've already muted Isabelle's stories. Ashley. None of you can talk. You're all the pot calling the kettle black. Isabelle. Haha. Isabelle at Wyatt. Quick, find Ashley a boyfriend before she completely loses it. Wyatt at Ashley. What are you looking for in a guy? Ashley. Nothing much. Just someone a little better than you. Wyatt. Then you only have one option. Ashley. Ashley, what option? Wyatt, my dad. Wyatt. I think he's the only person in the world who's a little better than me. Because he created me. Ashley. Screw you. Ashley at Khloe. Make him shut up. Khloe at Wyatt. Where are you? Why aren't you back yet? Wyatt. Almost there. This red light is taking forever. Khloe continued chatting with them. At the intersection, the light turned green, and Wyatt was soon back at Maple Creek Estates. By the time he arrived, the girls, not content with just texting, had started a video call. Hey, everyone, Wyatt said, leaning into the frame to greet them. Wyatt, you just treat Khloe's house like your own now, don't you? Ashley teased. Wyatt grinned. This is my house. Khloe shot him a glare and pushed him away. Wyatt didn't try to get back in the frame. He yawned, lay down on the sofa, and rested his head on Khloe's lap. Worried her roommates would see, Khloe lifted her phone a little higher. By the time she ended the call, Wyatt seemed to be asleep. Hey, get up. Stop faking. I know you're not asleep. Seeing that he wasn't moving, Khloe gently patted his head 3 times and then left him alone. The long afternoon seemed to pass in the blink of an eye. When he woke up, a crescent moon and a smattering of stars already hung in the sky outside. Wyatt opened his eyes groggily. The living room lights were off, and in the darkness, he could just make out the delicate, moonlit features of Khloe's face. Why didn't you turn on the lights? He asked, sitting up and stretching. You want to talk? Khloe retorted. You were lying on my lap. How was I supposed to get up and turn them on? Wyatt chuckled sheepishly and went to flip the switch. When he turned back, Khloe was heading to the bathroom. He walked into the kitchen, pondering what to make for dinner. There was a bowl of leftover rice from last night, some noodles, and a couple of frozen items they'd bought that morning. He decided to leave the choice to Khloe. When she came out of the bathroom, he asked, What do you want for dinner? Whatever. An idea sparked in Wyatt's mind. How about you make dinner tonight? I don't know how, Khloe said, fully aware of her limitations. I'll teach you. At his suggestion, Khloe's interest was piqued. She walked over. What should I make? Let's start with the simplest, egg fried rice. Wyatt took an apron from the wall, tied it around Khloe's neck, and fastened the bow at her back. I won't lift a finger. You just do exactly as I say. Deal. Deal, Khloe agreed confidently. Okay, egg fried rice. You need eggs and rice, Wyatt began. Get the leftover rice from the fridge and grab 2 eggs. Khloe did as she was told, then asked, Should I beat the eggs? Yeah, I know how to do this part. She found a small bowl and clumsily cracked the eggs into it, accidentally dropping a small piece of shell inside. She instinctively reached in to get it, but Wyatt stopped her. Use a chopstick. Oh, after beating the eggs and adding a pinch of salt as instructed, she looked up at him. Now what? Turn on the stove. This knob, right? Press it in for 2 seconds, then turn. Okay. After lighting the stove, she asked, Do I add the oil now? Not yet. Let the pan heat up first. And when you pour the oil, go slow. Too much oil will make the fried rice greasy. Oh, after about 40 seconds, when the pan stopped smoking, Wyatt said, You can add the oil now. Khloe carefully tilted the oil bottle, her movements cautious. That's enough, Wyatt said, and she immediately stopped. She put the bottle down and picked up the bowl of beaten eggs. Bolito Ling. Just half. Why? Khloe asked, curious. My mom always pours it all in at once. Wyatt smiled. This is my own little trick. If you save half the egg to pour in with the rice later, every single grain will get coated. Even without soy sauce, the fried rice will turn out golden yellow. Okay, I'll trust you. Khloe poured half the egg mixture into the pan. She picked up the spatula to stir, but there must have been some water on it. The moment it hit the hot oil, the egg sizzled and popped, spattering a drop of oil onto her finger. Ow, she cried, dropping the spatula. Wyatt swiftly turned off the stove. What's wrong? Oil splashed on my hand. Let me see. Khloe held out her index finger. A red mark was already forming. Wyatt grabbed her wrist and, under her astonished gaze, brought her finger to his lips and enclosed it in his mouth. Khloe's face flushed crimson. She couldn't look at him. Her head bowed, her lips moving silently. After a moment, Wyatt pulled her over to the sink and ran cold water over her finger. He inspected it again. Good, no blister. It's fine now. You want to continue? Of course. Khloe turned the stove back on. Following Wyatt's step-by-step instructions, she finished the fried rice. Just as he'd said, with just a tiny bit of soy sauce, the rice grains were all a beautiful golden color. The presentation was perfect. She dished it out and triumphantly carried it to the table. Wyatt cleaned up in the kitchen, then grabbed 2 pairs of chopsticks and sat down. Time to eat. Wait. Brimming with a sense of accomplishment, Khloe fetched her phone, took a couple of artfully angled photos, and sent them to Miranda. Like a schoolgirl showing off a perfect test score, she texted, Mom, look, I made this myself. Miranda, who had already checked into her hotel, replied with a series of thumbs-up emojis and a voice message. My daughter is amazing. Only then did Khloe say with satisfaction, Okay, now we can eat. Wyatt took a couple of bites. Khloe tried her own creation and immediately asked, I have a talent for this, don't I? This was a critical moment. If he said no, he'd crush her enthusiasm. It was like when a kid does chores at home. Even if they do a bad job, a single word of praise will make them want to do it again. But if a parent lectures them, they'll never want to help again. Wyatt nodded with a smile. Yeah, for first try, this is really good. I remember the first time I made fried rice, I accidentally dumped half a bag of salt in it. Even the dog wouldn't eat it. Ha ha ha. They ate and chatted. When they were done, Wyatt washed the dishes. When he came out, Khloe was on the phone with Miranda. He didn't interrupt, instead heading to the guest room Miranda had prepared for him. The bedding was already on the bed, and the room was spotless. He opened the closet and was surprised to find a set of light blue men's pajamas. He was touched. This mother-in-law is just too considerate. He took the pajamas, went for a shower, and came out to find Khloe had finished her call. He sat down next to her. It's getting late. You should wash up and go to bed. Oh. Khloe got up to head upstairs. Hearing footsteps behind her, she pursed her lips and deliberately turned around. What are you doing? Going to bed. Khloe pointed to the first-floor guest room. Your room is over there. Wyatt put on a pained expression. Seriously? You're just going to use me and toss me aside? I'm not talking to you, but I'm not letting you upstairs. Wyatt glanced at the security camera and for once stood his ground. Fine by me. They went their separate ways, one upstairs, one to the guest room. Half an hour later, Khloe was lying in bed, her mind racing. Is he really not coming? That jerk. I tell him not to come up, and for once he listens. Why couldn't he have been this obedient before? 10 minutes passed. Khloe got up and unlocked her bedroom door. Another 10 minutes went by. Khloe sent Wyatt a text. You asleep? After waiting for a long time with no reply, she huffed and stuffed her phone under her pillow. And so it went late into the night. Knock, knock. A soft knock came at her door. Then it was pushed open, and a familiar shadow walked to her bedside. Khloe pouted, her voice laced with annoyance. What do you want? Wyatt replied with perfect seriousness. What do you mean? You patted my head 3 times this afternoon. Wasn't that code for come to my room in the middle of the night? Khloe. And just so, you know, I deliberately avoided the cameras. Your mom definitely didn't see. My acting was pretty good, right? Khloe. Scoot over. Make some room for me. Khloe. Your bed is so much more comfortable. You bastard. As the scoundrel pulled her into his arms, Khloe opened her mouth and bit his neck. Wyatt, mimicking a cheesy movie hero, cried out, Fear not, fair maiden, for I have come to your rescue. Shut up. Even though they were alone in the house, Khloe clamped her hand over his mouth, sealing it tight. Abby Zhang felt unsettled after returning to work. With Wyatt not yet back in NYC, she, as his assistant, had nothing to do all day but still collected a salary. It made her feel uneasy. That's how earnest people are. Even when they benefit from a situation, their conscience bothers them. People like that often get the short end of the stick in the professional world. At noon, everyone was eating takeout. The university was still on break, but a few of the campus cafeterias had reopened. Sam had left the office 10 minutes early, ridden his electric scooter over, and returned with 3 lunchboxes. Food's here, he announced, walking to the front desk. He handed boxes to Rachel, Yuan, and Abby. Thanks, they said, taking the food and starting to eat. Just as Sam was about to go back to his own desk, Abby called out Sam. He turned, a look of surprise on his face. Abby shyly held out 2 small jars of homemade condiments, one with spicy pickled radishes, the other with shredded mustard greens. I brought these back from home, she stammered. Do you want to try some? Sam smiled and nodded. Rachel quickly pulled over a chair. Just sit with us. I'll clean up after. Unable to refuse, Sam awkwardly sat down. Abby twisted open the jars and placed them on the counter. Rachel was the first to try a piece of the pickled radish. After a few chews, she sucked in a sharp breath. A little spicy, but it really goes well with the rice. Her family's regional cuisine was known for being heavy on spice, rivaling even the most fiery dishes from other parts of the country. This one probably isn't as spicy, Sam guessed. Rachel tried the mustard greens next, mixing them with her rice. My mom wanted me to bring back some of her chili sauce and fermented tofu, but I thought it was too much trouble. Now I wish I'd listened to her. I wrapped mine in several layers of plastic wrap, and then taped it all up before putting it in my suitcase, Abby explained. Yeah, it's really good, Rachel said. Just a bit strong. Rachel's comment reminded Abby of something. Maybe we should eat in the stairwell, she whispered. Why? I'm worried the smell will bother other people. Oh, don't worry about it. Rachel waved her hand. Everyone's eating. I was just making an observation. Sam was about to speak when he saw Jessica Evans come out of the finance office to grab her takeout. He stood up. Jessica, what's up? Abby brought back some homemade condiments from her hometown. Do you want to try them? Sure. Jessica walked over, took a look, then opened her takeout and tried a bit. It was a local specialty she'd never had before, and she quite liked the taste. She glanced at Sam, seemed to read something in his eyes, and then turned to Abby. Do you mind if I take these to the finance office for the team to try? I'll bring them right back. Oh, okay. After Jessica left with the 2 jars, Rachel smiled. See? I told you it was good. Sam picked up his chopsticks and said quietly, You don't have to worry about everyone else all the time. Huh? What did you say? Rachel hadn't heard, but Abby, sitting between them, heard him perfectly. She glanced at Sam, then lowered her head and focused on her food. On the 15th day of the Lunar New Year, the day of the Lantern Festival, Wyatt brought Khloe back to his house. His parents had spent the morning at the supermarket, leaving the two of them at home. That afternoon, after some idle family chat, Wyatt noticed Khloe seemed a bit fidgety. He squeezed her hand and asked, "Want to learn how to ride an electric scooter?" "Yeah," she agreed immediately. They went downstairs, got on his mom's little scooter, and rode to a nearby park. "This is the throttle, this is the brake. You don't need the high beams during the day. This is the turn signal. It only goes about 20 miles an hour anyway. Want to try?" Okay. They switched places. Khloe actually had a natural advantage. Her legs were long enough for her feet to touch the ground when she stopped, which gave her a sense of security. Worried she'd be scared, Wyatt reached around her waist and placed her hands on the handlebars. "Look straight ahead." "Okay." She twisted the throttle slightly, and the scooter lurched forward. Even at a slow speed, the new perspective was nerve-wracking, but she quickly got used to it. If you can ride a bike, a scooter is easy. "I'm not going to touch the controls now, you ride. And in a minute, I'm letting go." "What?" "I'm not ready. Don't be afraid. I'm here." Khloe started controlling the throttle herself, gradually picking up speed. After a couple hundred yards, Wyatt saw she wasn't as tense anymore, so he let go of her hands and wrapped his arms around her waist. He guessed her waist was about the same circumference as his head, maybe even smaller. There wasn't an ounce of fat on her stomach. It was smooth and firm. A woman's waist, a deadly knife, he thought. The old saying was true. A year ago, this level of physical contact would have earned him a shove, but now it was second nature to both of them. "Door, huh? Should I keep going straight?" "Whatever you want. I'm pretty good at this, right?" "I learned right away. It's still early. Going straight is easy. You still need to practice turning and making U-turns." "I can learn that too." Wyatt rested his head on her shoulder and didn't argue. They rode for about a mile before finding an empty spot to turn around. Back at the park, they parked the scooter and found a bench. "My hands are so sore," Khloe said, rotating her wrists. She held her small hand out to him. "Rub them for me." Wyatt took her hand and massaged it. She must have been gripping the handlebars too tightly. Her palms were sweaty. He took a tissue from his pocket and wiped them, but Khloe deliberately pulled her hand away. Wyatt smiled and held his own hand out, palm up. Khloe glanced at it, then placed her hand back in his. And then, their fingers intertwined. It was the Lantern Festival, and the park was nearly empty. Khloe leaned against Wyatt and asked in a tiny voice, "Are you sleeping at your house tonight?" Wyatt chuckled. "But it's not impossible for me to go to your place. What would you tell your mom?" "I'd just say your parents aren't home, and you're scared to be alone." Khloe thought it was a good excuse and didn't reply. But Wyatt deliberately pressed, "But didn't you want to kick me out of your room the other night? Why do you want me at your place now?" Khloe wrinkled her nose, looked up at him, and threatened fiercely, "I'm telling you, you are not to tell anyone about that. Or else I'll ignore you." "That's serious?" "Yes." "Okay, my lips are sealed." "Oomph. That's more like it."